What's happening, people? I'm Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. With me is my much better half, relatable Reese, or Reese, as I know her, or Pumpkin, or three other names I'm not going to use on here. How you doing, Pumpkin?
Go for it. Hey, Bunny.
Yeah, 10 seconds in. I've already started. So do me a favor, smack that like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. Just a quick intro on this. One of the reasons that my wife is here is because on a pretty regular basis, we talk about serial killers. And very often, people know their names and they don't know their stories. This is our newest dirtbag in the United States. This is our newest, no joke, now absolutely convicted serial killer. Sorry, baby.
It's okay.
It was an accident. Hey, West Coast Fancy Nancy, thank you so much. What a cool thing. I
love you, Nancy. Guys, welcome in, and I love you guys. And just so you know, for the new people, I am posting my channel. Please come over and subscribe. Please hit subscribe. It's really kind of you to be supportive of us both. I appreciate that very much. Hey, Joanne Hawley.
Hopefully,
hey, Audra.
Often as we go by, it'll save all kinds of things.
I will keep posting it. Thank you, Vicky Hurley. Hey, Walking on Sunshine. Welcome in, Mimi. Hey, Brock. Hey, Kristen Melinda. Hey, Roberta. HBH. Jerry Ellen's here. Catherine J. Anna Manana. Hey, babe. Good to see you guys. I'll let Tommy get into it. But yeah, I found this fascinating. And we were talking about, thank you, Just Want to Bird. We were talking about serial killing on my channel last night. A little bit different. Tommy's a little bit more wise and educated. We were talking about who in the world would be named Rex, but also be a serial killer. So then we went down the list of creepy names for serial killers, and Chuck, Larry, Doyle.
Anything Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny doesn't like the Wayne thing. Chase Hughes is a guy that is very famous for interpreting body language. And I'm a huge fan of Chase Hughes. Also, there have been some things with my particular ailment, my traumatic brain injury, that he knew more about than me or anyone else. And that has been a real benefit. So Chase Hughes is awesome.
Hey, Lynn, and thank you for the super chat. That's very kind. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Hey, Pebbles.
Now, before we get too much further in, it's important for me to make you understand why I say that helps free speech. The Diddy appeal, I'm not going to get into it right now because I'll do a show on it, but the Diddy appeal happened today. And I had to watch a content creator talk about this. I counted how many times he said the word corn as opposed to porn or pornography, because he's afraid that the algorithm isn't going to push him. And the number was 38. I find that absolutely offensive. We say words that we're not supposed to say because the algorithm won't push us, like pornography. There you go.
Thank you, Neptunes. Debbie Love and Life. Love you, babe. Thank you for being here. Again, I'm going to keep pushing my channel for anyone who is not subscribed. Even if you don't like me, just come hit subscribe out of pity.
Because it really pisses off the haters too. 200 of you in here, do me a favor, smack that like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. Yeah, Robin Ross, do some research on that. Honest to God, don't believe what somebody said, because I know exactly what you're talking about. And did the guy try to sell some other stuff when he first got out? Yeah. And if you're a guy that can absolutely understand human nature the way that he does, you might try to push something different as a way to make money once you leave government. But he is who he says he is. So with all due respect.
Thank you, Wistful Girl. That's so cute.
Look at Loretta.
Loretta, thank you for being a member, babe. Neptune's Lioness is so kind. Did you know that she's a therapist?
I did not.
I was using her for free advice yesterday about serial killers.
Nice. Tim Trimble, I love that. No matter how many times I hear that people say that. I'm a serial killer, Captain Crunch, and Rice Krispies. But that would technically make you a serial killer because that's 4. You have to kill more than 3. But I would throw in Count Chocula just on general principle. It's kind of how I get down.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you to everyone who hit subscribe. I mean, I really appreciate it. I love meeting the new people. I really do want to connect with you. It's not like I just want the number to go up. I want to meet you guys. So thank you. Thank you. Tommy is feeling better, guys. I've been checking on him all day. I've been making him rest, and I was not going to let him do this stream tonight, but he's much better. And he's much brighter. He's bushy-tailed. He's cute. He's squeezy. I like to get a hold of him. I don't know if you noticed, his nose is so cute and attractive. He has little beady weasel eyes that just really turn me on. I got him that hat. His forehead wrinkles are cute. Look at his cross necklace I got him. He's so cute. Oh,
Rockman, that guitar does say that.
sorry, babe. We'll do that after the show.
I was there when I bought it. When you bought it. The guitar behind you. It also lights up on the fretboard. There are lights that go all the way up there. It's a great guitar. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, we bought that together. Sorry, I didn't. I was just thinking about Tommy naked.
Giggity. 225 of you in here. Do me a favor, smack that like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. It's so much easier when my wife is here and she can do the comments thing. Because I'll be honest with you, it just doesn't. Number one, I struggle a little bit with vision. I need to go in and get new glasses and things of that nature. Because as I progress through this stuff,
thank you, Charity. Tommy is very cute.
Oh, thank you. But I think Rockman sums it up. I think Rockman sums it up. Yes, the undercover cop. Yeah,
we were talking about that a little bit too much on my channel. How sometimes you and I do that and play undercover cop.
Well, you know, it's funny. Honest to God, as a guy that retired from a life of crime, if I had $1 for how many times somebody brought me over to someone's house and they'd go like this, "Who's this dude? Shit looks like a cop, man. This ain't cool." Like that was a daily occurrence for me because I don't really come across as the.
But it is cool.
What's that? Yeah, it was usually in the hood, but I don't have the facial tattoos and a lot of the other stuff that you see. I didn't get my neck done.
Right. You know? But it is cool, especially when you frisk me.
Yes. Yeah, it makes for enough. It really does. It makes for enough.
That's enough. I'm scaring everyone. Everyone who just hit subscribe, unsubscribe. They were like, forget it. I don't want to do this.
Mimi thinks I look like a teacher. Wow. Didn't see that.
That.
Never heard that one. I literally have never heard that one. I am feeling better. I promise you I am. I'm not 100%, but I'm.
Let's give that one a try next month.
Didn't we do that once?
I think we did do that. We were like an art teacher, a professor. Yeah, I remember that.
No, I think it was a gym teacher. But anyway, so.
Oh my God, I was calling you coach. I remember that.
All right, people. I'm sorry. We have derailed and we're only 7 minutes in. That's why the free speech things help because the algorithm right now is going pervert. No reason to push this one. Tell the truth. Come on, you see it. You see it.
We're not going to be librarian.
Done that one too. Different one, but we've worked that. Yeah, costs nothing. It helps with free speech. She's right. Smack that like button. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell for notification. It always happens, Buffy. It doesn't matter when you come in. There's usually a decent chance of that happening. Yeah.
We have the hots for each other big time, guys. We really do. It's not an act. It's real.
It is one of those things. Oh, look at this.
Thank you, Canvas and Crime. That is so nice. Thank you, guys.
What a great name, too, for someone that's into true crime. So we're going to start with this because this is important to me, and it should always start this way. I think if you're on a channel that doesn't do this, I'm not judging other channels. I can't back that up. I'm judging all other channels. But if they don't start like this, then maybe don't listen to them at all because this isn't about Rex Huermann, right? This is about Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, Sandra Castilla. Those were the 7 people he agreed to plead guilty to torturing and murdering. He then, at sentencing, said, Karen Vergata, I killed her as well. These are the victims in this case, and I think that that's probably the most important thing to keep talking about because very often these people gain some kind of notoriety in society and they become something larger than life. If you think about Ted Bundy, if you think about the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, or you think about John Wayne Gacy, right? These people become part of the culture. Charles Manson, who technically isn't a serial killer, but he sure gets put into the mix. By most accounts, Manson killed 1 person, right? There are people that think he killed 2. There were a lot of murders that he got convicted of that were done by people that they called his followers. But all of these people become some kind of icon, which is kind of creepy, right? But their victims get forgotten, and that's kind of a bummer. Thank you, Debbie Love and Life.
It's a huge bummer. It's a huge disservice to those women.
It really is, isn't it?
Debbie, we love you, babe. Thank you for that.
We really do. And you're missing great weather. Just saying, great weather. So Sandra Castilla, on November 20th, 1993, she was discovered in a North Sea Southampton area. Karen Vergata, April 20th, 1996. Fire Island and Davis Park. And if you don't know New York, this probably doesn't make much of a difference. Fire Island is an island, and it gets a lot of bad jokes about it because for a long time, it was kind of a place where people who were gay had no problem hanging out and not being abused. right? New York was not always the most accepting place on planet Earth. Kismet, right, is a big town in Fire Island. And that was kind of the place where people could go and be themselves and nobody harassed them. Part of her remains were found there. And I say part of because this guy had in the beginning, he was dismembering the people that he killed. He would remove hands and heads, sometimes more than that. And body parts were being found, a lot of them at Gilgo Beach. Originally, there were 4 women. Next was Valerie Mack in the spring of 2000. She was found in Manorville. It's a wooded area near Gilgo Beach. The Fire Island, Karen Vergarda, her skull was found at Tobay Beach. So she was found in different locations. Jessica Taylor, July 26, 2003, Manorville, wooded area near Gilgo. Maureen Brainerd Barnes on December 13th, 2010, Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. Marissa Bartholomew was December 11th, Ocean Park near Gilgo Beach. Megan Waterman, these are the last 4 I just listed, were the first 4 he was charged with. They were called the Gilgo 4 because they were found within days of each other. And Megan Waterman, the 13th, Ocean Park. And then Amber Lynn, December 13th, Ocean Park near Gilgo Beach. This has, you can sort of relate this to what is happening currently in Arizona, oddly enough, right? We don't seem to be getting any closer to Nancy Guthrie. And you go, why? How is that possible? Like, this ought to be easy, right? This is what they do for a living. You would think that this isn't something that should be that difficult. The original cop that got this was a guy named James Burke. He was the police chief, appointed despite a history of misconduct. Sound familiar? Famously blocked the FBI from the case in 2012. Experts suggest he feared federal investigations would discover his own illegal activities with sex workers. The next person put in was a guy named Thomas Spada. That district attorney was later convicted of witness tampering and conspiracy to protect Burke. This high-level corruption kneecapped the investigation for years as the department focused more on internal cover-ups than solving the murders. This was awful. There was a tip very early on about a Chevrolet Avalanche, a green one, in 2010. The witness described a first-generation Chevy Avalanche driven by a tall, dark-haired, heavy-set man. He's very often called a ogre, literally, like, Shrek. He's a very big man. They're reporting him at 6'5". He is not, right? This kind of thing happens a lot. He's between 6'2" and 6'3". But when you're 280 pounds and you have a head that's visible from space, I'm not being disrespectful, I promise you I'm not, but this man has a massive dome, right? His hat size had to be 130. Just huge. And he very much looks ogre-like. If you heard him, go ahead.
I wanted to thank Sherry for her super sticker. Thank you, Sherry, 67.
So the tip about the Avalanche Pooter, 12 years before anybody looked at it. This woman disappeared. The last time she was spotted was getting into a green Chevy Avalanche, and these cops left that in a file for over a decade before anyone looked at it. This case went on for almost 3 decades. And the reason for it is simply cops. It's as simple as that. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. Not the guys on the ground. I mean, they were out there trying to investigate this. But the people that were running it didn't have an interest in solving it.
Okay, babe, you're going a little too, I need you to slow down a little bit. For those of us that know nothing about this, where was it located again?
Gilgo Beach is a section of beach in Long Island. And it's, if you were to drive down through this area, sadly, because my family's from Long Island, this guy grew up in Massapequa, but if you drive down, the way that this goes, there are houses along the beach. But there's a lot of land behind the houses. And then on the other side of the road, there's a lot of land. And it has become somewhat of a dumping ground for people that are breaking the law.
Okay. And how old would you say this guy is? He looks like he's in his 60s, maybe?
He's 62 now, right? But when he was arrested, he was 59.
Thank you, Loretta Hauser. That's very kind, my friend. Thank you, guys. Okay. When he was arrested, he was 59. So he's 62 now.
Correct.
Has he been doing this his whole life?
Well, there's the question, isn't it? Because if you ask FBI profilers, this is not what normally fits for a profile of a serial killer. More than likely, there are a lot more bodies that we don't know about. I mean, it's
horrible. Did he only kill women?
He only killed women.
And
do we know any sex workers?
So the women of the pictures you just showed were all sex workers?
Yes. But they were not street walkers. Like, I don't want you to think like a hooker walking on the stroll. These were people that had run ads as escorts.
It doesn't
And
matter. It doesn't
well, no,
matter.
but it does for the sake of the crime. If this guy was so meticulous in what he did, we'll talk about it a little later, but he had a 65-page manual that he built for himself on how to kill, how to get away with it. He was methodical. He updated it. It's terrifying how much this guy thought. He wouldn't pick up a streetwalker because there are cameras and you could be seen picking up a streetwalker. He was very.
I see what you mean. You were clarifying. I was saying I don't care what they did for a living.
No, that's one of the problems with the investigation too, Pooh, is that the cops in this basically treated these people. They'd say they were sex workers. Sex workers disappear, which is foul, right? I mean, horrifically foul. And then they got a new crew in there. And the new crew went at this completely different. And the investigative work, and we'll talk about it, is fascinating how they got this guy, right? But they got him.
Do you know when the first murder was? What year?
Well, the that we know of for a fact, between 1993 and 1996 is the first one that they can document. That doesn't mean it was the first one, but it is the first one that they can document. He had land and a house. He actually had two properties in South Carolina, and he had a property in Las Vegas. And there's already some evidence that points to the fact that he may have killed at least one person in the Carolinas. So this could be anything.
And he was married?
He was married. He was married twice. The first time he got married, the marriage didn't last particularly long, but it was less than 1 year. And apparently this woman was like, who the hell did I marry? He married a woman in September of 1990 in New Brunswick, New Jersey. The marriage ended in divorce a year later. His second marriage was to Asa Ellerup. He married her in 1996. She's an immigrant from Iceland, grew up in Massapequa. Following his 2023 arrest, she filed for divorce after 27 years of marriage.
Wait, so he wasn't married?
He was. She filed after he was arrested for divorce.
Okay. And they
have pretty damn logical.
They have, of course, and they have children.
He has a daughter that is named Victoria Huermann. She's the only biological. He had a son from his stepson from his wife's first marriage, and his name was Christopher Sheridan. They say that he was developmentally challenged. But both children were both still living at the house, and they were adults. They were closing in on 30. The daughter worked with him at his firm. He was an architect, although not the kind you would normally think about, like designing houses and doing that. His job at a firm that he owned was to help people that were building inside New York to get by all of the guidelines, right? To build in New York. They call it DOB. It's the Department of Building. And you have to get by all of these laws and all of these rules. His job was to help anybody building to navigate that stuff. Made a lot of money. But she worked with him and lived at the house until the day he was arrested.
And we don't know if she had any idea. I'm guessing she did not.
Well, here's the thing.
Trace, thank you for the gifted membership, my friend. That was very
Thank
fun.
you. I love it when people turn green. I have been there are people out there that wholeheartedly believe that she is really twisted because of some art that she's done in the past and some things that they can link to her. There's that isn't proof, right?
Is that true?
Yes, absolutely.
In the basement of his home where his wife and children lived?
Correct.
He had a torture chamber in the basement of his home.
Well, it didn't stay up as a torture chamber. It wasn't, because after every one of the murders, and I'll go over this, but after every one of the murders, he would disassemble what was down there. But he would build a table. He would build a table that had a crossbar. That crossbar is usually to hang people up. So there was some vicious stuff going on down there. In his prep documents, he would say things like, make sure you get a lot of sleep. Don't be tired. You know, the more preparation you can do and the less noise you have, the more time you can have for fun.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you, Canvas and Crime. Her art is disturbing. I don't know who she's referring to. She's
referring to the daughter, the birth daughter of Rex. And her art is disturbing. Not going to lie to you. It's disturbing. But Stephen King writes a lot of really nasty books, and he's never killed anybody that we know of, right? That it's not a dead giveaway. If she was just anybody else on the street, you'd be like, nah. But once you find out her dad is a serial killer, it starts to make you question a lot more.
So, hold on a minute. So, what you just explained to me doesn't make a lot of sense. Did he bring back people alive to the basement?
He did.
and the wife and kids were upstairs while he was
No.
there.
As Barbara Wade says, I think I remember hearing the wife was gone for stretches at a time. She's from Iceland. They would go back there on a regular basis to see family. They would also go to Vermont. They would go to the Carolinas. They would travel. And when we don't know this for 100%, but it looks very much as if he would bide his time until his wife and the kids were out of the house. And then he would go and do his hunting or do his killing. He'd been hunting the entire time, but he would go and do his killing. The wife was aware of the fact that he used escorts on a regular basis. That is in evidence. But she didn't know that he was killing any of them.
Anne says, I find it difficult to believe a wife of 27 years didn't have a clue. Now, I know that's hard to believe, but look at like Dennis Rader, BTK. He was married with kids. I don't think they knew.
It happens often. It sounds like there's just no way that this could go on, but these people have a way of compartmentalizing their life. Now, he was a dick by all accounts. He ran his house almost like a concentration camp. He was not very kind to people. Wasn't beating on them, but it was his way or the highway kind of a thing. The quote that comes out a lot is that he ran it like a 1950s, family show where he was always right. They got him 3 years ago, Buffy. 3 years ago, 2023, he was arrested.
So did he kill them in his basement?
He killed a lot of them in his basement.
So he would abduct these women and take them back to the basement, and that's where it all happened?
Correct. Speaking of which, good time to mention this. A girl escaped from the house, right? Escaped from him and made a 23-minute 911 call. And the police determined that she wandered out into the marsh on drugs and died that way. But this woman was on a 911 call where you can hear Rex Huermann yelling at her in the background for 23 minutes. Again, this was under the old police where they honestly looked like they didn't want this to be solved. Now, they weren't involved. Nobody was getting paid off, but it shows how somebody like, Barney Fife in Arizona doesn't necessarily have to be involved for them to not want the FBI crawling up his tailpipe. So
what happened to the girl?
The girl was eventually captured by him and killed, and her body was found years later.
So this is almost like Jeffrey freaking Dahmer, where the kid got out, the cop found him, and Jeffrey Dahmer convinced the cop, oh, he's my partner, and they let him go back with Dahmer.
Right. The difference on this one was that the cops never found her while after the 911 call. Huermann got her back into the house, killed her, and then her body was found years later. None of these people were found. What's that?
Did he drug them?
He did not drug them. And this is uncomfortable, but this is we don't do trigger warnings here. This is a true crime channel. No, he even wrote in his manifesto or his instructions on how to do this. Make sure that when you hit them the first time, you hit them a lot harder. Because one of the previous girls that he had hit, apparently she screamed afterwards and all that. And screaming leads to less time being able to play with her kind of thing. He talked about not being able to let them get a lot of breath until you got back to the house. Because if they don't have a lot of breath, they can't be screaming. This is a sick, you know what. But he said strike in the head or the neck or face and neck, because however he had struck them the last time didn't scare the girl enough. He picked women that were petite as hell. Keep in mind, this guy's taller than me and weighs like 280 pounds, right? He would find girls that were very close to 5 feet tall, 110 pounds, that kind of thing. And if you think about the discrepancy between a guy that size and a woman that is that petite, he did this because he could dominate these women and get what he wanted out of this. Disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you say that women love true crime, and I'll let you answer that in a minute, but I just want to say this. I know that it's mainly women. It's like a high percentage of women that are really interested in this stuff. And guys, at the same time, I just don't think someone like Tommy ever leaves the house or sits in his house thinking, what if I get abducted when I walk to my car? What if this, what if that? It's a real thing for women. And that is so terrifying to think about. I mean, even me, I live out in the middle of nowhere. It freaks me out, that like, I always try to be super aware walking to my car, don't look at your phone, stuff like that. But I mean, once this guy was a stone cold true killer. And I'm sure that he stalked people and decided and picked, like they're very calculated, although some of them are not. Remember, Mindhunter, where they said that when they studied their behavior, some of them are like random and just pick anybody, and some really stalk and study.
That's a great point. He also studied serial killers extensively. And he, in his little manifesto or training guide, talked about the difference between the opportunistic kill, where you see somebody and you grab them. In that document, he uses initials and letters to signify women that were in the process of being hunted down. He has it been confirmed? Well, he did that. He's pled guilty to that murder. So although the elocution where you talk about what you did, he didn't say, oh yeah, I was chasing her around when she was on the 911 call. He did plead guilty to killing that woman. So my gut says, yes, it was absolutely him. He also agreed as part of his plea, which to me is fascinating, that he's going to work with the mine hunter kind of people at the FBI. As part of his agreement, he has to deal with the people at the behavioral science department of the FBI. So there's going to be a lot more we find out later.
Wow. Thank you for your super chat. This is an interesting question, and I was wondering it too. Was it known if he had a domineering mother?
At this point, we don't know much about, I mean, I can tell you a little bit about what his childhood is, but there's not a lot out there yet to give you any kind of an idea as to what may have, caused this. I'm sure that the FBI people are going to do a lot better with that. Up until 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was still trying to fight this thing. Maybe a month ago, he was still trying to fight this. This came as a shock to a lot of people that he came out and pled guilty. But it's not the Ted Bundy era. They've gotten so fantastic with evidence. And when we get into the evidence that caused him to do this, there's just no way he could possibly beat this. There were fibers from his hair found on victims. There were fibers from his wife's hair found on victims, his daughter's hair. Not because they had anything to do with it, but because if you're in a house, and you're dragging somebody through there, the odds that this is going to happen are pretty great, right? They've gotten very good at this kind of stuff.
And this is a good point. Anita says, I'm too old. Anita, I love the answer here from Kat, who said, or Neptunes, no age is safe. Think of Nancy Guthrie. No age is safe.
Yes. Now,
thank you, Candace and Crime.
And even to expand on that, there are serial killers who, like Ted Bundy, if you look at his victims, they all had brown hair, right? They all look very much alike because he was killing people as a substitute for a woman that broke his heart.
Right.
There are people that hated their grandmother who will go out and hunt down surrogates to kill who look like their grandmother. So no one's safe. And one of the reasons you said this earlier, Pooh, and it makes a lot of sense. She said it's men don't necessarily anticipate being abducted, raped, and killed. And that's a fact. But science will tell you that one of the reasons that women do groove to true crime is because there's some kind of a preventative measure in hearing how this stuff happens. And the takeaway from this should be that there are things that these women could have done. And I'm not blaming the victim ever, but this particular lifestyle makes you a target, right? And I'm not being cold hearted. I've known more hookers, I promise, than anybody, not because I slept with them, but because I was a heroin addict. And there's a lot of people that sell their body in that addiction.
It's a dangerous lifestyle.
It's a dangerous lifestyle because if you disappear for 4 days, people don't instantly call the police.
Well,
right?
and you're kind of secretive on who you're with. So it's not,
you're less likely to call the police if you had been messed with.
Absolutely. It's not a dig. It's just the truth.
There were prostitutes that did not get killed by this guy, but were so freaked out by them that they ran. There was a cab driver that also did that, but they don't come forward when it happens because they're terrified. He might be out there. What if I go report him? Now that he is in custody and it's looking like he's never going to get out, people are coming forward and saying, you know what? He scared the crap out of me. He hired me as a cab driver and told me he wanted me to drive out into the middle of nowhere. And I went, not going to happen. And he literally said to the cab driver, I'd like to kill you. And I've been thinking about it anyway. And she was like, see ya. Right? Got out of Dodge. But there are people that dodged this bullet. And that's often the case. It was the case with Bundy. It's the case with a lot of people. It's frightening.
It's extremely disturbing. Did he randomly choose girls or did he calculated how he did it? So
by all accounts, because this hasn't, again, elocution just means that you're supposed to admit that you did this. And in his, at his change of plea, the judge asked things like, did you kill this woman? Yes. How was she killed? He said strangulation. For all of the 8 victims, he said he killed them by strangulation. He did not elocute to say, here's how I targeted her. But if you read his list, it'll say things like T1, right, to signify a victim. DS1, Mill Road. DS2, question marks, as in I don't know where she lives yet. So he targeted these people. And for him, it was considerably easier because if you're using escorts advertise on sites that, whether they should be legal or not, there are tons of escort sites where people advertise their services. He could go and look and go 5'7", 150. Yeah, she might be a fighter, right? 5'1", 110. This is someone I can. So he absolutely was hunting them and stalking them. And the behavior got worse than that. In some cases, after the murder, he started to hunt down their families and look at sisters, siblings, children. He phoned people related to the people he killed and said, I still have your sister. I'm still torturing her. And a lot of really foul stuff. Yeah, he is a guy that liked to impart terror. And that's how most serial killers are, right? This is a guy that likes to, he gets off on people being afraid. Most serial killers are this way. It's even if they're sexual sadists, it's more about the fear than the sex.
So he would abduct these. How long did he keep them alive? Do we know?
No.
So he would call their family members and tell them he had them?
Yeah. In one particular case, he was able to get he kept the phone, I guess, and he could go through there and start to call family members and torture them for long periods of time, and not giving them a solution. If you give me money, I'll return, or nothing like that. Just getting off, just being a sick bastard, for lack of a better way to put it.
Did he just kill, or was sex involved?
Oh, no, there was sex involved. And you can tell that from the little manifesto thing or his sheet, because he talked about what to do pre-prep, like before you get her. Make sure you fill up the air in the tires, make sure all the lights in the cars work, get a tune-up, make sure you don't put gas in with a credit card. Like, he would go through all of these things. Very often he would pick the women up in Manhattan and then take them out to Long Island, where the murder would happen.
Did he write? How do you know sex was involved?
Because if you read his guidebook on what he was doing, if you read the guidebook on what he was doing, he would talk about, after the trigger warning, after the crime, make sure you clean up the victim. That includes all orifices inside and out. Remove all trace evidence. He talked about toys that he used during the process of doing this. Things that are grisly, really grisly. And he choked these women to death. He's already admitted to that. However, many of them were found with abuse to genital areas, breast areas, things that he had in his little booklet. He said, remove any tattoos. He was going to get rid of the head and the hands so that they couldn't identify him. Cut off any tattoos. Remove any torture marks. Right? Wipe away your evidence. So, like, his physical evidence, because he was doing terrible things to these women. In one, he said, I need a bigger rope for the neck. It's snapped with the smaller rope. So as he's choking this woman to get what he wants and to torture her, he decided he needed a thicker rope. He's a sick fuck, pardon me. In your opinion, is the most prolific to date? Who is the most prolific to date? In the U.S., probably Bundy, or the Green River Killer. There's a lot there. But there are people in other countries that, they say 200, 300. America's a lot more difficult to be a serial killer. There's some incredible numbers out of people in Russia. But in all cases, it's the same sick bastard. You understand that, right? These are people with bad wiring, and they don't experience compassion, and they don't. Do you know if the Long Island, hold on. The Long Island serial killer is a different guy. And unfortunately, thank you, by the way, Sikorsky. The Long Island serial killer is a different person and a whole different set of crimes. And unfortunately, a lot of people refer to this guy as the Long Island serial killer, and that's going to get very unusual and hard to figure out. This guy is the Gilgo Beach serial killer. The bodies, for the most part, were dumped all along Gilgo Beach, right? It's disturbing, and it definitely is. This is not a subject matter that a lot of people. If you enjoy the details, then you're probably a sick bastard. If you're inquisitive about this, there are a lot of people that are. There is something so unusual about the abhorrent nature of these individuals, and it brings up a pretty interesting. Good night, Chef Brian. Have a good evening, man. We'll see you on the next one. There are a lot of people that bring up a question about the difference between whether or not good and evil exists. There are people that wholeheartedly believe that there's no such thing as an evil person, right? There are people who do evil things. I'm here to tell you that they're wrong. For this guy to go to work every single day with his daughter, who's about the same size as his victims, there's something seriously evil about this person. The fact that you can derive pleasure from something like this is pure evil. It's not a human being doing an evil thing. He's a sick individual. Evil. Second is Green River. Yeah, it's disturbing that these people exist. It's also fascinating. And the reason that it is, I don't think it makes that there's anything wrong with you. It's terrifying to believe that we're all created the same. Yet here's a guy that literally takes his spare time out hunting women. He lived in a house that was so dilapidated and falling down. And the inside of it, he looked like a hoarder, right? There was crap everywhere. It was so disheveled and disgusting that you go, this guy's an architect, right? This is a guy that went to school to figure out how to make beautiful buildings. And he lives in a home he got from his parents that's literally disgusting. And the difference between that guy and the guy that drives to Manhattan in a suit and works, just to rent a building in Manhattan like he did. This is a very successful guy in part of his life. And he's got a wife and a kid and and two kids, one stepson and his daughter. His daughter works with him. They all still live at home. And in his spare time, he's hunting down women and torturing and killing them. And then going back to work on Monday. It's hard to believe that this kind of evil exists.
It is. And thank you for your super chat, Canvas and Crime. The other thing, it's just, I think it hits home too, because when we think, I don't know, I don't want to speak for other people. When I think serial killers, I think the past. For the most part, I think of the classics, Zodiac, Bundy, Dahmer, BTK, and all of those guys have been caught and are long dead. A lot of them are not BTK, but it's hard to believe this stuff goes on still now. And he's one of probably many that are still existing. Do you think? I don't know.
40 at any given time. That's what the FBI will tell you. The people that work for that do profiling and study this kind of behavior, they say at any given time there's about 40 serial killers who are in business at any given time in the U.S. And if you think about 330 million people, 40 are that just messed up. It is such a sliver of society, but it's terrifying that this kind of evil exists. This guy, and this is becoming more prevalent, not less prevalent. But these people study other sick bastards to try to figure out a way to do what they do without getting caught.
Yeah, John Wayne Gacy was a prolific serial killer for sure. He was in Iowa, I think.
Had about 30 young boys buried in the crawl space of his home. He was a very, very sick individual. He was put to death. He got the death penalty, and his last words were "kiss my ass." He was classy till the bitter end.
Well, that's really sick.
It's also one of the first ones I remember as a child. Like, I remember watching the news, and it's funny because, not funny, haha, but I was doing research on that, and in the documentary, they're showing the news clips from every night. And my brother was like, I remember every one of these. I go, I don't remember any of this. And then there was one that showed a guy with a baseball jersey on, where it has the different colored sleeves and the shirt with a number on the back of it. And it was like, I remember that one. Like, I remember that. And yeah. I remember being like, not understanding exactly what they were doing as those poor guys. This is not people in suits with masks and hoods like we do today. These were guys down in a basement with no protective PPE stuff on, digging out, corpses because they wanted to get closure. The cops in this, as a guy that was a former criminal, everyone assumes you always hate cops. I love the people that hunt these guys down. I love these people. They're heroes in a way that, Bobo, you're better than that. Oh my God, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. Yes. I've seen the documentary. No one's ever said I look like that, but that's funny as hell. Wow. Yeah, I would love that. Email me at tommyscoble@gmail.com. I love that. Out of Sikorsky's, obviously. And thank you for the support. I think I missed one, Pooh. There you go. I think most active serial killers are over-the-road truckers. Does that sound familiar? Technology is likely made hard, in my opinion. Do you agree? 100%. I had this conversation with not only my wife, but with my brother. And he said, in this day and age, how could you possibly get away with it? Truck drivers pull into truck stops. We don't see truck stops the way a truck driver sees a truck stop. And I don't mean they're all bad people. They're all great people. But if you're one of them that is abhorrent, When you pull over to where the trucks go, not where we go, the other pumps and all of that, there's a group of people that often get called, it's not nice, but they're called lot lizards. These are usually drug addicts who are out there trying to sell a mouth hug for $25 so they can go get a fix. And they walk between the trucks and go and knock on. And if you go get in, I'll drop you off at the next exit. It's very easy for that kind of person to disappear. And the way the trucks are, they're what? If you're standing next to one, they're 10 feet taller than you, 15 feet taller than you. If you're going between them, whether or not she gets into the truck on the left, the truck on the right, these are all things that make it very possible that truckers could very easily be doing this. In the rest of the planet, it seems difficult that someone could get away with this. Rex Huermann did. He did. If I had to guess, I'd say this guy's IQ is probably in the 150 to 160 range. He's not stupid, right? And he planned this in a way that he wouldn't get caught. He didn't pick up anybody in Long Island, right? He drove into Manhattan, picked up vulnerable members of society, people less likely to get reported, and then got him in his car and drove them all the way out to Long Island to do what he did. And it's frightening.
So I want to stop for a minute, babe. So I agree with this. Carrie, if you're a woman, I would have to guess though, that some of, hold on. Huxley's just getting home. It's okay, Bobo. It's okay. Don't encourage your brother. I definitely think these women who were the prostitutes probably had some kind of protection. I would think that they carried. So maybe that was out of the question and he just was able to overcome them, right? He was a large man. Buffy, just because your husband is a truck driver doesn't mean we're saying anything. My husband was a mason and he was a jester. That doesn't mean all masons are jesters or all masons are bad or anything like that. So I hope that you don't think that we're going, well, this equals
absolutely
that.
No. Just like there's 330 million people in America and 40 active serial killers at any time.
Yeah. I mean,
we're looking at a segment of society that is so small and so deviant. It has nothing to do with the occupation. It's just that you're less likely to be seen on a camera. And serial killers we're not seeing as many of them because they get caught before they get to their fifth or sixth or seventh, victim. We're getting so much better with forensics and all of that stuff that it's just less likely that these people are going to end up.
Also, being a truck driver would be an easy job to become a serial killer, I would think, because you're all over the place and you can probably just seems like
your friends aren't going to say he's been acting weird. He disappeared for a long time, right? All of the things that you normally think of, like how does a serial killer get away with this? They either compartmentalize their life like Rex Huermann did. By the way, just briefly, this is a big dude, right? Give you an idea. This is him standing in court. If you look at the size of his head compared to the people next to him, this is just, and he has a voice like this. He's a very, got a heavy New York accent, Long Island accent, lived in Massapequa basically his entire life. And again, they compartmentalize themselves. This was him back in the 90s, a little bit smaller. That's him with his wife, obviously on a much better day for her. This was a guy that I'm sure by that time was already who he was. I don't think that they break bad. I think this is something they fantasize about their entire life.
Do you think this can be genetic or some way passed to their children?
No, there's never been a case that I'm aware of. Somebody can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I've never seen a case where they go, so, Ted Bundy and his son also then became a serial killer. I think that this is such just an outlier. This is not something that, even when they talk about psychopathy, right? The best way I've ever heard this described is, so if somebody is born a psychopath, it doesn't mean they're ever going to kill anybody. Most of our presidents have been psychopaths. Most of titans of business are psychopaths. They're not violent. So you're born with psychopathy. Then something happens to you along the way. You get molested at 6. You got an uncle that gets murdered in front of you. Something happens, and that loads the gun. Right now, you're a dangerous individual. And then another event happens later in life that pulls the trigger, and from there on out, you go batshit crazy. That's often how it is described.
Do you think people like this were abused as children or born screwed up?
Both. Absolutely both.
I think more abused as children.
Again,
I said yesterday on my channel, because you've told me this, you think some people just have bad wiring. I think that's true, but I think it's a way smaller percentage than there's a reason. Like I was saying yesterday, and I stand by this still, I feel a little sad for Ed Kemper. I know, because we were talking about him in bed one night recently. We were talking in bed, and you were like, you realize what he did to his mom and all these women. And I said, I don't feel sorry. I feel sorry for him when he was a child. His mother tortured and abused him. I'm not shocked that that guy grew up to kill, torture his mom, and be horrible to women.
But he was born with bad wiring. This is exactly what I was saying. So psychopathy, you're born with the gun. What his mom did to him loaded the gun. Then he went out to live with his grandparents, and they did something else that cocked the weapon. Then he killed both of them, who were not the people that molested him. Right? So it's no, but I mean, look, you know why this is wrong, and I'm not busting your chops? Because the number of people on this channel listening to me right now that were molested and didn't become serial killers. There has to be bad wiring. And then if you have the psychopathy gene, right? And nothing happens to you. You have loving parents, they take care of you, you go to school, everything is great. You're probably going to work at a Fortune 500 company, and you might even end up a CEO. However, if you're born with bad wiring and your mom locks you in the basement and makes you wear dresses, that's the kind of thing now that takes the psychopathy, right? How many people are abused and they don't go, I'm going to go kill some people. They go, I need some therapy, right? Yeah, don't blame me for this.
Our pillow talk is kind of crazy stuff sometimes. Hold on.
Not quite right.
Wait. I have a question for you about that. I was talking about this last night on my channel. I think if you and I know a dog is not a human, but if you take a dog, beat it, starve it, cage it, let it out, and then someone goes, it was a bad dog, it bit that little girl. Come on. He was horrifically tortured. Are you telling me that he was just born with bad wiring, but the mom pulled the trigger by what she did to him? What if you're born a perfectly okay with okay wiring, but you're tortured in a basement, starved, made to eat your own feces, told
they
you
write books. You know how many of those people grow up to write books and then become spokespeople and all of that? There are people that have been through ungodly torture. Look at what happened to Elizabeth Smart when she was abducted by that psycho who held her for 9 months. That could turn anybody into a psychopath, right?
Yeah.
But they don't have the wiring. You could have ended up a psychopath with a violent psychopath with your upbringing. The reason that you didn't is because you weren't born with bad wiring. Oprah Winfrey had a horrific childhood, and look what she became.
But hold on. It's the hand you're dealt, and then you grow up and you either bleed on people who didn't cut you, or you make yourself. I go to therapy and I take responsibility, and I have a YouTube channel talking about it, and I try to inspire and help people with it. So it's like alcoholics, right? If you grew up with an alcoholic parent, you might become an alcoholic, or you might look at their behavior and go, I am never going to take a drink in my life. I don't want to behave that way.
But if you were born with bad wiring, then you don't have the capacity when you're abused to go, I'm just going to become a good person. If you already have the psychopathy gene and they beat on you like that, there's never the question of, maybe I'll write a book and go into therapy. You think, I'm going to go find people that look like that bitch and I'm going to take her off of planet Earth. And that's the difference, at least according to the people that do this for a living. I'm not telling you I'm smart. I've just read a bunch of these books. And what they say is psychopathy you're born with. But most psychopaths live a completely normal life. However, 99% of serial killers also are psychopaths. If they had activating events in their childhood, it's bad wiring, activating things in their childhood, and then a event that happens later in life that throws the switch. It's that 3-punch combo that turns somebody into a Bundy or turns somebody into a Rex Huermann. Something happened in his childhood. According to science, we don't find people that are just fantastic. There's always usually something that, and very often it's a domineering mother, a really hateful mother, but it could be anything.
I don't know. Isn't this like racism or anything evil? It's taught. You're not born that way. It's
Correct.
Taught.
Yeah. But it's taught. There are people in the chat right now who are saying, I was molested as a child. I'm fine. Because they didn't have bad wiring. So when it happens to you, you take it in and you go, I'm going to get some therapy. I didn't turn into a serial killer. I turned into a guy that stole stuff and did stupid shit with my life, right? But I wasn't born with wiring that was going to turn me into a killer, right? Or have the potential. I'm not saying, but these people who are born psychopaths, they absolutely could turn into them, but they didn't have that event as a child. Right? That's the difference is it's usually a 3. Did I miss a super chat or 2?
Probably, but that's okay. I'm going to click on them in a second. I'm trying to finish this thought because I just think in a way, aren't we all kind of born with bad wiring too? I
No,
mean,
no, nope, nope. Doesn't work that way. You can do a brain scan on Rex Huermann, and you're going to see a different brain than if you do a brain scan on you. This has been done. You can look at somebody after the fact who's willing to let you get a look at their brain, and you're going to see a part of the brain where normally you see unbelievable activity, like it's white light, right? Where you feel things like sympathy and empathy and all of those. Psychopaths tend not to feel that. So the combo of all of this put together creates monsters, right? But it's a series of things. It's being born with bad wiring. There are people who will argue that we literally have never had a president in the United States after the first one who wasn't born with that particular gene. There have been books written about this, that everybody after Washington has been a psycho. But there's a difference between a psychopathy, that where they're not as empathetic and they're not as sympathetic and all that, and a sexual sadist psychopath or a murderous psychopath. That is a combination of your birth, right? Not getting enough activity in certain parts of the frontal lobe. Then the second part is that you were abused as a child, which gets that thing loaded, that puts the bullet in the gun. And then there's an activity later on in life where you go, F it, I'm killing some people. And then they like it, they enjoy it. And that's usually what drives them to continue on. They're getting out of that what you and I get out of that pillow talk.
it just you're breaking it a little bit too black and white for me, but I also do not think in black and white terms or absolutes. What about people who are on medication at 18, never showed any kind of aggression before, and they're on a medication that causes suicidal thoughts or homicidal thoughts, and they go and they shoot up a school?
That is not a serial killer. Serial killers.
I'm thinking about the wiring part. Like,
no, that very often medication, right? These kind of things lead to something. You're not going to go back through Rex Huermann's past and go, boy, when they put him on that Bupurion, he just became a psycho, right? This is a guy that spent decades living his life in little segmented areas so that he could take women into his basement and use sex tools on them to kill them. That's a different cat, right? Than somebody that take Nick Reiner. Does dope his entire life. They may have changed up his medications. He was not a very nice kid, but he kills 2 people in one night. That is a snap. Serial killers don't snap. Serial killers snap way early on in life.
They've been snapped.
Yeah, and they figured out a way to continue it going because they dig it, right? That's not psychopathy.
I see that. That makes sense. I'm glad you broke that down for me. I will say one thing before we read the super chats. I sat and Gertie got half of her ear bitten off once years ago by a German Shepherd. Why, you ask? Because she ran up and bit the damn thing in the face. But I sat in an all-night emergency vet's office called Blue Pearl, babe.
Blue Pearl.
And there was a cop in there who had a cat that was attacked by a coyote. And we sat there together in the waiting room all night together. He was a retired homicide detective in Kansas City. Nicest guy. His name was Jack. We talked all night. I had a ton of questions. You know what he told me? And I'll never forget this. He said he's met so many serial killers. And he said serial killers are the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Correct. Because you're never going to see them when they're doing what they do.
Well,
I watched interviews that he did that had nothing to do with this, where he sat down for an interview about his business. And he's just the most jovial, happiest guy you've ever seen.
He said they have to be because that's what they do for a living. So they're trying to get you to go, oh my God, what a nice guy. I never thought of that, even though that's basic and I get it. Love to give some to Reese. Oh, thank you, Sikorsky. Maybe when I go to Ecuador, we don't share. We don't share super chats. Face. I think it's sort of like pedos find a way to work around kids. A serial killer would seek a job with anonymity.
Allie says, I agree with you 100%, Allie. There are psychopaths that don't become serial killers. Psychopathy does not equal violence. It equals somebody that believes they're the center of the universe and more important than everybody on earth. And I don't want to get into politics. Don't tell me which president you think is the one, but think about what it takes to say, I want my hand on the nuclear button. I am the person who's best suited to run the free world. That's not normal, right? Normal people don't think that. By the way,
thank you, K-Space.
By the way, Fisher Blue said something. I wish I could. Can you go back and see?
I can go to Fisher Blue, but meant to say Gilgo Beach guy looked like Bruce the Shark Also, side note, what do you think of Casey Anthony? I'm a child of alcohol. Bruce the shark. You mean from Finding Nemo? Fish all friends, not food. That
Yeah.
guy? I loved Bruce.
Yeah, but I can see he does have some sharp qualities. He also shaves this area right here. I've never
Yeah,
seen
that was
anybody
a
do that.
bummer. I thought
Yeah,
if
I've
I,
never seen anyone do that.
yeah,
I find that to be a very unusual look. And I'll tell you what, he spent 3 years in prison and is still shaving that. You can't see it as well in that picture, but he still shaves that. If he pulls his hair back, it's a very odd look. And it's not one that I
do you
normally,
do you think he looks like one of my ex-husbands? He looks like somebody I would have married.
yeah, no, there's something to that.
I'm being serious. Babe, I'm serious.
I know what you're talking about.
The chillest. Casey
Yes.
Anthony lives 30 minutes from me.
Oh, wow. No, absolutely. There are, head injuries. There are people that have become really violent and horrific after traumatic brain injury. It happens often. But again, that gets back to, believe it or not, I think that sort of, it sort of bolsters what I'm saying. There's bad wiring. That bad wiring could have gotten caused by you getting hit in the head with a baseball bat, or not enough oxygen at birth, or too much oxygen at birth, or during your development. But there's usually something along those lines. You're right, Tommy Bird. I agree with you 100%. Normal people don't want that power over others. That's
Agreed.
a psychopathy thing. 23 months. How have you done it? I've been driven you crazy. I really appreciate that.
And also, here's my channel. If you would come subscribe, even if you don't like me, just do it anyway. Like, just it's a pity thing. I was going to ask this.
Yes.
Just is it because I'm an ex-Scientologist? I just have a question for me and the ladies. And how are you married to someone for decades and you don't know they're a serial killer? Same thing with BTK. Babe, I am like all up in your biz.
True.
I mean, not really. Actually, there's so much about you I don't know that I don't ask, that it's your business, you're private. But I've been married like 15 times. I feel like I would know.
Yeah. So here's the thing on that. Think about his wife, right? His wife knows that he hires hookers and has put up with that. So she's either terrified.
That's familiar for me. Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't, right? You walked out. So she had not walked out. She'd been married for 27 years. That she and the kids still lived at the house. This is kind of mind bending, right? But it's like a cult. You don't walk in day one and they go, there's this dude named Xenu, and you're not going to be able to talk to your family anymore. You got to learn a whole new language. These are incremental steps until the person is beat like a dog. Not a whole lot different than the people that he's going after, right? They pull the wool over your eyes. Beautiful, Ellie Sayers.
But if you were in another country, can you tell exactly what Tommy's doing? No. I mean, Tommy could have a whole other separate life. Tommy could have 3 girlfriends. I mean, I'm serious. I don't know. He's in another country. I have had to let that go. That's why I love when the haters are like, Reese is so jealous. If I were jealous, Tommy and I wouldn't be together. If I had real deep jealousy issues, like, think about that for a minute. He's in an entirely other country where prostitution is legal, mind you. Like, he's not, but I don't know what he's doing all day around the clock. No, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm terrified of you.
That requires a lot of trust. What?
I said I'm terrified of you, even if I wanted to. I'm kidding. It's not really my get down. It's never really been my get down.
Well, just cheating in general is neither. I mean, even though I did cheat on my last husband, I felt terrible about it, and I still do.
Tommy, you were there.
Tommy was there. It's not something I'm proud of, and I don't condone that.
This is a case, and like all of them, where like Dennis Rader, I think that I'm a little bit less surprised with this one as I am with Dennis Rader's. Dennis Rader wasn't hunting people in the traditional sense of the word. He was more of an opportunistic kind of serial killer, where Rex Huermann was hunting these people down. And by all accounts, he might hunt them down for a year or two and wait for his wife to go to Iceland. So I believe that most of these killings happened when she wasn't home. I think that she was probably terrified to go into the basement. The room in the basement was it was made of concrete and lined with steel. And there were hundreds of guns in it, 200 and some odd guns. There's no evidence that he ever used a gun to kill anyone. But I think that she was probably terrified to go downstairs. I think that, she lived a life where she got to live on Long Island. She got money and, she had a family, right? But it's just terrifying that but it's not a shocker. It's compartmentalized. Look at Bundy. Bundy volunteered for a political campaign. He was in law school, right? He was living two very, very different lives. And that's how most successful serial killers are, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I buy it that the wife and kids had no idea. This is
You and a lot of other
literally
people,
happening in a basement.
not while they're home, right?
No,
There's no
and
evidence.
was he like super neat and clean? Did he really clean up and like there was no evidence of any?
Excellent question. Excellent question. One of the things in there talked about, like one of the first times that he did this, he taped drop cloths up. Now that's to catch blood that sprays and things like that. So not pleasant, but he taped it up. In the next, he put an addition in there that said, use tacks, don't use tape. My gut says it peeled tape, stuff off the ceiling or off the wall, which would have showed evidence that something was up there. He was methodical to beat shit with how he cleaned up afterwards. He
like
was
Dexter.
Like Dexter, no joke. Throw out all of the toys you used. Destroy the film. So he was filming himself, right? He was filming him doing this. But by all accounts, they didn't find any of that, or at least that we know of, because it says right in there. So destroy it. He was going to sit down while she was still out of town. She was going to enjoy watching whatever he did. Then he was going to destroy all of that. He was methodical to a terrifying. And you say, if he was methodical, how did they find this document of 65 pages? It had been deleted. But they were going back through. When you delete something on a computer, it doesn't necessarily delete.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that Johnny says, I'm sorry, what? That said, there was over a terabyte of information. So there's a lot they still need to go through.
So he didn't handwrite a book. It was on a computer.
It was on a computer. It was a document on a computer.
I don't know that I believe the family knew nothing. I don't know.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't believe that. There are people that now that are already talking about maybe filing lawsuits against the family. Cat father, the Iceman killed 4 people that we know of. He may claim to have killed a lot more, but the serial killers and hitmen are not normally considered the same thing. If you kill more than 3 people, you're a serial killer. But if you're killing for money, it's not some kind of psychopathy that's out making you do this for pleasure. So while technically, yeah, he'd be a serial killer, they don't usually call hitmen who kill for money serial killers.
At the same time, I feel a little bit like I'm being disrespectful by saying I don't know that I believe that the wife and kids didn't know. If he was super like drill sergeant and mean at home and in charge and like creepy to them, they might have been intimidated enough by him to not. Like, I don't know. I hate to be judgmental like that because we don't know. But the fact if he had been killing these women in the woods, I would believe that maybe they didn't know. But the fact that it was happening at home, you're telling me in all those years he didn't slip up and leave something out, or like they found something and we're like, what is this?
There has not been as yet any evidence that he kept souvenirs, which is odd because many times
most serial killers keep some sort of trophies from their victims. I didn't. No, you ate yours.
Now we don't have any proof that he was eating anybody either. Rue, in answer to your question, there are all kinds of people in the U.S. who have gun collections that are considerably larger than this, and who do nothing wrong. This is the way I collect, watches. There are people that collect guns. His gun room was off limits. That was absolutely a fact. I don't believe that the basement was allowed for people to go into it. We'll find out, but he was a controlling prick. So I bet they were afraid to go down there. And I bet if they did go down there, they'd find a room full of guns. I don't think that he was leaving evidence behind. Now, he was leaving enough behind to get caught. But this was not, hey, we found a bloody fingerprint. It was, we found hairs on a body. And honestly, the bodies were clean. But he used tarp to wrap these people up, burlap, in many of the cases. And burlap, he couldn't clean the burlap. They took the cat as evidence. I'm not kidding. And they've said they're not going to release the cat back to them. They didn't like the way that the cat was living. Like the house is just disgusting. So they're going to rehome the cat. But why would you take a cat as evidence? Because the cat was old enough that there's probably hairs on the burlap that comes back to the cat, right? Non-human hairs. But he also had a bevy of burner phones, right? I mean, a ton of them. He never made a phone call on his own phone. But what happened is the burner phones ended up being one of the ways that they tracked him. because all of these people that disappeared would get a lot of phone calls from him. One of them got 30 or 40 phone calls over the course of a couple of days. One of the victims, it was admitted, and this was somebody from the 90s, was offered $1,500, right, to go with him. So very often there were people that probably went, yeah, I don't know. Like, this isn't a good idea. Wasn't he caught by pizza? That's how they got his DNA, was by pizza. They were following him around for months. They took stuff out of his trash to try to find DNA and got nothing out of it. Nothing. So they got a group of people that followed him in Manhattan, and they had guys dressed up as sanitation workers. And he came out with a pizza box and threw it in a trash can near his office. They got that off the pizza crust. They got his DNA, and they were then able to compare that to stuff that they found on the burlap to find out who he was.
Thank you, Heather. I'm glad someone noticed. She said Reese does a perfect Clarice. That accent is not easy to do.
Yes, she's
Pure West Virginia. What was your father, dear? Was he a coal miner?
Good nutrition gave you length of bone, but you're just one generation away from poor white trash.
But you're not more than one generation from poor white trash. I
don't think the answer is beyond those cheap shoes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know what you look like to me with your good bag and your cheap shoes?
You look like a rube.
A well-scrubbed, hustling rube. Little taste. I think a lot of people subconsciously know certain realities but overlook them. I think that's very true too.
Bingo.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly true. And what was I going to say? Why could they not find any DNA? Was he just super weird about? Oh, I know what I was going to say before that real quick. We talked about this during our pillow talk. We were saying, and I thought it was cute, that they won't let the cat go back. How many of those FBI agents are like, I want the serial killer's cat? Remember how Lecter says, well, she says most serial killers keep some sort of trophies from their victims. And he says, I didn't. And the FBI guys probably keeps trophies of their serial killers they catch.
Bank on it. And
I would.
And usually they're animal lovers. While I was getting ready to go to trial for bank robbery, there was a guy in the unit with me who was a bank robber. And he had a big Rottweiler, sweetest dog in the world, that was in his car when he did the robbery. And that Rottweiler was adopted by the FBI agent that busted him. So yeah. It happens a lot that they'll give the dog or the animal a new home. But,
if I was an FBI agent that busted serial killers, wouldn't you want to keep some sort of little something? That'd be kind of neat. That would be kind of cool.
In his document, and by the way, I was going to put the document up. It's disturbing as hell, and I don't want people reading all of it. I'll give you excerpts of it, but it's disturbing as hell.
You have it?
They have not released all of it. I got about 15 pages of it. But what I will tell you is this: after the death, one of the things said, wash the body thoroughly with soap and water inside and out. So he was, how did he not leave trace evidence? Because he was washing out the mouth. He was washing out, all of the other orifices. He was scrubbing the body down, cutting off the tattoos, removing any of the torture marks. So when they found these women, they were not, full bodies. They had been, mutilated, but not for the kill. They had been mutilated post-mortem.
Was he into necrophilia?
Not that we know of yet, but they're so often it's the last thing that a serial killer is ever going to admit. For some reason, like Bundy and a lot of the others, it'll be if it happens, it's going to be after a much later date. They don't want to admit that. For some reason, it's like, I tortured and killed her, but I'm not a sick bastard. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have sex with her after she was dead. That never made any sense to me. Honestly, it didn't. Yeah, or cannibalism is another one they usually try to not admit.
What do you have this document that you can show?
I'm not going to put it up.
Oh, I thought you were going to. Okay.
No, because there's so much on there that, look, what I'm giving you is disturbing, but there's stuff on there that's really disturbing that it's frustrating to look at a lot of it. It really goes beyond the scope of what it is we're talking about. I think I can give you enough, but
I don't really want to see it.
I'm not trying to keep anybody up at night either.
I just put up my channel again. If you would come over and hit subscribe. This was really frightening. I'm so glad he was caught. So he pled guilty yesterday. Is that true?
He did. He pled guilty yesterday.
Is he like of sound mind? Is he talking?
Oh, yeah. Now, sound mind, you do realize, just means that you are completely aware that what you did was wrong. Nobody that does this to somebody is of sound mind, right? Nobody that eats people is of sound mind. Nobody that believes you could drill a hole in someone's head, pour acid into it, and turn them into a sex slave, like happened with
Dahmer,
with Jeffrey Dahmer. But the McNaughton rule, which determines whether or not somebody is fit to stand trial. Where do you get these documents from? They were printed in the New York Post, just the excerpts. The easier way, though, is to get his bail. Like when you're getting ready to go up for bail, they put reasons why they don't think you ought to get bail, and it's in that document. That's the best place to get it.
Sherry, I totally understand. Love you too. And Sherry, smart girl.
I don't blame you.
Well, no, take care of you. Come first. Self-care first, Sherry.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
You know, that's a great comment. They must have some really sick info for him to admit guilt. I think that what it is this. Once you know there's no friggin' way on God's green earth that you're going to be found not guilty, this man was not without means, right? This man was not without means. This is a guy that he is not. Shannon Gilbert, I do not believe he pled guilty to. Give me 1 second. He's not without means. So this is a guy that absolutely, no Shannon Gilbert yet. But I think we're going to find out a lot more. I think we're going to find some from the Carolinas. We might even find some from Nevada. He traveled not with his family. When his family was gone, he obviously was killing people. So if he was somewhere else without his family, in the Carolinas, there was a woman that said, my friend was a sex worker. The last time I saw her, she was getting into a car with an ogre-looking man. That very well could come back to him.
He could pick up a hammer but not use for his eyesore of a house that he lived. That's crazy. It sounds like he was dirt poor if he lived in such a shithole.
Not in Massapequa, right? That's
not
a part of Long Island that dirt poor people live in, unless they, inherited the house. Who inherited the house? This was the house that his parents owned, but he never did anything to it, and he was not poor. So you're realizing that all of your money is going to go into a defense that you're going to lose. Go ahead.
Did his wife work?
His wife did not work, to the best of my knowledge. His daughter did. But here's the thing about him. So his lawyer was arguing that all of the DNA evidence should be thrown out. And the reason it should be is because they got his DNA in a kind of a sneaky way, right? However, people have been doing this for years. There's so many cases where they grab a Coke can and pull the DNA off of it or whatever. Right. But they were trying to suppress all of that evidence. Once the judge said, no, all that's going in, it wasn't long after that he pled guilty. I think he knew he was going to have to put his family through listening to the details of every one of these crimes. And they all say the same shit. I didn't want to put the victim's family through having to hear what I did to them. Trust and believe they would have loved that, right? That's the kind of shit that gets those guys off. But he would have blown all of his money. This way, at least he can try to turn something over to the family. Family's claiming that they're broke, but they're going to. The mother and daughter have already signed a deal to get about $1 million to put out a documentary of some kind on them. And they're saying this is so that they can leave New York because they're never going to have a life there. Like, that's over. That's a wrap. So they would like to move to the Carolina place. I would imagine that's going to get dug up and trashed too.
Would they change their names and everything? I would imagine. Like, would
if
they try
were
to
smart, right? The wife didn't have his last name anyway, but I would imagine they will. Very often that is the case. Bundy had a child. Most people don't realize that. Yeah. But they allowed him with the woman he married to get busy in a visiting room, and he gave birth to a daughter. So he has a child out there. I would imagine she doesn't use the last name Bundy anymore.
And where is he being held?
He's in New York right now.
So about prison. Like, he obviously is in a cell by himself, right? He's
in a county jail right now. He's not in a prison. So I would imagine he does not have a cellmate. But he's a guy that could end up in general population. And the reason he could is because he's absolutely freaking massive, right? And what they would probably do is try to put somebody in there that's, 160 pounds.
That's not fair to give that guy a cellmate. He's a
cellmate could say, I'm not living with the guy, but you'll go to the shoe, right? You don't really get to necessarily choose.
That's not fair, babe. That is horrific. I would not want to be sharing a bed with a bunk with a freaking ogre, Shrek ass serial killer.
You would not believe some of the people I've had to share bunks with. It's kind of how it goes down. Neptune Lioness, that's actually a great comment. She said, Tommy, he also agreed to plea when another serial killer wrote to him and told him there would be better food in prison, including butter for bread. He was corresponding with another serial killer, which is kind of jacked in and of itself. But I heard that he wrote to the serial killer first.
Ed Gein, pretty creepy. One of the inspirations for Silence is Put Solution. Yes, Sikorsky. Ed Gein was inspired by Buffalo Bill, right?
Yes,
Buffalo
Buffalo
Bill.
Bill was inspired
Yeah.
by Ed Gein. So was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Gein wasn't a serial killer. He gets credit for that, but he wasn't. And he didn't kill enough people to be a serial killer. But what he did with the people he killed was pretty disgusting. Another interesting thing about Ed Gein is Ed Gein was found not guilty by reason of insanity. He was one of the few that actually got by the McNaughton rule and was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Still died, locked up. That's usually what happens. But he was locked up in a prison that is really a mental institution with bars, and so you have a lot more access to people studying you. But it's by everyone who's ever done time, they would much rather be in a prison than in a psychiatric prison. In a psychiatric prison, everyone around you is dangerous and psychotic. In a regular prison, a handful will be, but you can usually, try to duck and dive to stay away from that.
Makes me think of the movie Shutter Island. I don't know if you saw that.
I read the book.
So this particular dude, could he get the death penalty?
No, New York doesn't do the death penalty. So he was not pleading guilty to avoid the death penalty. I would imagine he does want to get to prison. This is not a shocker, or maybe it is. But if you know you're going to prison, what you want to do is get out of county jail as fast as you can. You're locked down usually in county jail almost all day, and the food sucks. There's no, in prison, you're going to spend the rest of your life there. So if you're on a regular yard, there's a rec room. You can go down and occasionally, have access to something, depending on the custody level. What's that?
Won't he be sent to like a hardcore prison, like where they're not going to have like a yard with? Would this guy get those kinds of same privileges as you got?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I thought you told me BTK was like in.
Because BTK is not a tough dude. He was great when he had the ability to dominate people by using weapons or what else. But in a regular prison, he's going to get killed. So he asked for protective custody. But there are serial killers that walk main lines. I did time with a serial killer. And he was not a guy you'd want to go up to and challenge him about his crimes. Right? He looked at every moment like he might want to add one more to that list. And say what you will, bad dudes can walk mainline. Right? There are some scumbags that are tough enough to just go, you don't like me? Come up in the cell and we'll work it out. No, we're good.
Do you think the corrections officers in prison are scared of people like him, or will be? I would be scared.
Nope. No, they have a button that they wear. Right? It is referred to by the inmates as the deuces. And you hit that button and you can set a watch by it. Within 60 seconds, there will be literally 100 people that enter that unit. I saw a woman when I worked at Unicor who fell asleep and hit the deuces by accident. And 100 people showed up going like this, looking for the fight or looking for the problems. They have backup that come from everywhere. You've never seen anything like it. Pepper spray, nightsticks, they come really quick. Inmates
what if you can't get to the button?
They always get to the button. And there's usually more than one cop in every unit. So if that cop can't get to the deuces, the other cop's going to get to the deuces. Once a year, somebody gets killed, maybe twice a year, but it's.
Who's to say if this guy, Rex, is going to even be violent? Maybe he won't, because now that he's caught.
He seems to like his victims to wear, mini skirts and weigh 100 pounds. I wouldn't be afraid of the guy, I swear to God, because the kind of people that do this, they're not men, right? This guy's no toughie. He's a scumbag that wants to pick victims that he absolutely can dominate. I think a convict's going to slap that dude around if he wants to. Yeah, Johnny makes a great point. This is absolutely the truth. There are guys in there that go, you know what? I'd kind of like to see fear in his eyes, right? So he may check in. He may very well ask for protective custody if he's smart.
Will people target him because of what he did?
Oh, yeah. Especially once they realize he ain't a badass. Like if there are people who go, oh, so this guy was just tough with women. Yeah, there'll be everybody in there that wants to test him. Everybody in there will want to see fear in his eyes. That's what he got off to. They're going to want to do it to him. I promise you. And yeah, prison was 100 times better. I even did time in the nastiest prisons in the world where it's just like a county jail. You're locked down 23 hours a day. At least the food's better. And the guards treat you with a level of respect in prison because they're going to be back the next day for years. In county jail, they're not worried about it. And they treat people really badly.
You're right about Ed Gein. I should have clarified that. Who do you think is the most creepiest in your opinion?
I've never seen one that wasn't, honestly. Like I've read a lot of books on serial killers. I find every one of them horrific. Gein is really messed up.
Yeah,
Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez is probably one of the creepiest in my opinion, because by all accounts, like he raped women in their 80s, and then he would go and do this to younger people. Like Richard Ramirez, it seemed to me, was doing it because he really got off on being evil. He was the guy that put the pentagram on his hand, and like quoted the Night Stalker and did all of that, crazy shit. He really got off to it. I wish that they got there 20 minutes later and that the people that got him finished the job and killed him. Like the locals knew who he was. That's how he got caught. They saw him on a newspaper and he was walking to get to a bus stop and they attacked his ass. I kind of wish that they had finished the job and we wouldn't have had to listen to him in jail doing interviews and like getting off to how evil he was and all that shit.
Dahmer was pretty gross. Dahmer was pretty evil.
Dahmer was disgusting.
Super
he really
twisted. Was. BTK was pretty horrible too. And he killed a small child, didn't he?
Who, Bundy? Yeah, his last victim was 12.
BTK did. He killed a little boy.
Yeah, BTK would kill a family. Like he didn't give a shit. Yeah. Richard had a ton of girlfriends. He had a lot of women that wrote to him, to be sure. This is a common thing. I've told this story before, but I got a little bit of press for the bank robberies. And when I got to FCI Tucson, because it takes a long time from your conviction to when you show up, they were like, "You need to go down to see the warden about your mail."
I missed a heavy comment by Wisconsin girl. I'm from Milwaukee. I remember the Dahmer arrest trial very well.
Sorry.
A high school classmate of his is the one that killed him in prison.
A high school classmate of yours killed Dahmer in prison. Put some money on that dude's books. He's got it coming. But they said, you got to go down and see the warden about your mail. And I'm like, the hell is that? So I went down there and he had a bundle of mail that people had written to me. And I never responded to any of them. Sounds terrible, but I sold the mail to other people so that they could respond to them. But there are weird people out there that just really sort of get their rocks off by having some kind of a correspondence with somebody in prison that did something that they think either sounds cool or disgusting. They want to figure out what makes this guy who he is or whatever. It's strange.
And I never would have said this, but just as I age, as I get older, also just being a YouTuber, I get a lot of threats. I get mailed threats. I get emailed threats. I get a lot of weird things like sent to me as a female, as a YouTuber. People have sent me naked pictures, really creepy threats. I would say this now more than ever. If you're a woman, protect yourself. Everywhere I go, I carry protection with me. Luckily, Tennessee is an open carry state, and everywhere I go, and I have protection in every room of my home. I mean, I think it's really important now more than ever to be aware of that, and just take that. I always think about protection like an umbrella. You'd rather have it than wish you had it. That's how I feel about it. You'd rather have it than wish you had it. I don't care if you have pepper spray. I don't care what it is. I also have one of those alarm things on my keys, but like, I really take it more seriously than ever. And speaking of being watched, I mean, being a YouTuber, I get creeped out thinking about it sometimes, like the people who are watching me. I've got a lot of male haters who make videos about me that I've never met that say some really creepy things.
A bunch of them.
Really creepy, like she runs her mouth. She's going to learn about that and get that mouth shut. Like creepy things. It's like,
and oddly enough, not a full girl among the entire crew.
Speaking of, yeah, no teeth at all in those mouths, but no, like serious threats that I have to send to the police all the time. It's creepy. And speaking of serial killers, I mean, that guy is very serial killer like. Don't you think?
Yes, it's difficult to not do what we do and not put out some information on who you are. And people get very good at looking the stuff up. But like I always say, don't stop squeezing until the slide stays back. You know what I'm saying? Unload that entire piece. The cops will show up and pat you on the back. I promise you.
Oh, they say it to me all the time. They're like, the cops here are like,
shoot them,
blow them away. Yeah, with the threats you get, they're like, blow them away. We don't even care how. We'll just come pick up the body.
Yep, and I promise you, no one will be mad at you. Toolbox killer is probably not something you could talk about on here. I wouldn't. The toolbox killer is one of the creepiest. Someone said the pig farmer. That's another one that's pretty rugged. What's his name? Pinkle? No, starts with a P. Pinkton. There you go, Pinkton. There are some I wouldn't talk about.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing.
Thank you, Sikorsky. And yeah, you definitely put yourself out there as a YouTuber. I wish now more than ever that Tommy and I live together in the same home, because I really do. I'm not afraid. I don't feel afraid, but when I sit there and have time to think about it, I'm glad that I took that seriously and I did get all the protection I have. But, I mean, I'm glad I have a big dog. I'm glad I do all the things I should do. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I wouldn't even give it a second thought. I would pull a trigger so fast on somebody. Like, That's terrifying. And the cop said that to me the last time I reported. He goes, with the threats you get, we've seen them. He was like, you have every right to protect yourself. And we wouldn't question that. And it made me feel good. Yeah, FTG, it stands for Fix That Grill.
Yes, but we only do that on Fridays. Sorry. Just like technology makes it easier to get these guys quicker, unfortunately, I think it brings way more creeps out of the woodwork than in past generations, makes accessing victims easier for them. It's true. It's absolutely true. Now, someone also said, not in New York. In New York, they arrest the victims, and there's truth to that. Nothing political, but you're probably better off firing in a state that's not run by the Democrats, because the gun laws are very, very different, and they don't do a whole lot to give somebody the right to protect themselves in a lot of states around the U.S. That's not a political statement. I don't give a shit if you like it or not. It's a fact, right? It's just the way it is, man. There are states that don't allow you to defend yourself in the same way that Tennessee does. Tennessee will encourage you to put a second clip in and shoot the guy while they're on the ground.
Yeah. My cops here told me that Tennessee is like 50 years behind on how the current law is everywhere else. And he said it's truly is the Wild West. I mean, I'm a single woman living here with my son. You think I'm gonna not defend myself? I absolutely would.
Buffy, a husky's a good start, to be sure. I'll tell you something, too. If I were there, babe, I would just have to give you a big hug after you shot them all. I've got some limitations on the things I can do legally because of my previous background.
Yeah, well, I don't have that background.
Yeah, but like when we were together, I can't be in the same house as a gun unless it's under like 4 different locks and keys.
Right.
Because it's that kind of and I'm not bitching about that. I got that coming.
Right. I'm just saying I would feel better with you here because
me too. Because I would much rather hit that guy in the head with a baseball bat anyway. Just saying. Mm-hmm. Texas is the same way. You want to hear something funny? It's a true story. When I lived in Texas, I lived across from a nightclub, and we had one of those backyards that just was a fenced-in place big enough for your barbecue grill. And one day I was in my living room. I had nothing on but a pair of boxer shorts. And as I was walking into the bedroom where my wife at the time was asleep or just falling asleep, my sliding door opened and a guy came running in who was like 6'7" and looked like Howard Stern. Long hair, craziest shit ever. And I was standing next to a bureau that had a pistol in it. And I pulled it out and I said, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "I just need to run through your house." I'm like, "Nope, you're going out the same way you just came in over that fence." And he's like, "No." I said, "I'm going to shoot you in 3 seconds." And the dude turned around, jumped over the fence where there was like 100 cops. I opened the door of the fence and walked through. And I walked across the street with the gun in my hand. And the cop's like, "Hands in the air." He said, "Drop the gun." I said, "I'm just going to set it down. Like, I don't want to drop it from 6 feet. I paid like $80 for it. I don't want this thing going off." So I put it down on the ground. And when the cop came over, I explained to him the story. He was as angry as I've ever seen a human being in my life. He goes, "Why didn't you shoot him?" And I was like, "I thought I could get him out of the house without shooting him." He's like, "Why do you have a gun?" And I was like, "Well, to protect myself." He's like, "You shoot him." He's like, "Now we're going to take this asshole to jail. He's going to do this again in a couple of months." He's like, "You should have shot him." And by the time they were done talking, there were 6 of them there berating me like I was a child that took cookies when I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it left a lasting impression on me.
That's how they are here. Several cops here tell me all the time, "Shoot, don't even think about it. Shoot, write up a report on what happened and hand it to us. We'll come pick up the body."
Yeah. The Tennessee has castle doctrine or law. They may not be called that, but the exact same law. You can protect your castle, and you should.
The stand your ground thing. Yeah, yep. We have that here.
Well, stand your ground is if somebody is coming after you, you don't have to wait for them to hit you or whatever. Castle doctrine says, "Come on my land, and I know you're not a good person. I'm killing you." And they're not going to give you any crap for it. Castle doctrine is the way it ought to be. Reese has a dog that doesn't quite weigh 15 pounds, who has a pretty good bite.
I have 2 dogs. One weighs 85 pounds.
What does Gloria weigh these days?
She's about 7 pounds.
So about a third of what Katy Perry weighs these days.
Yeah.
Louis behind every one of my bedroom doors. You know what I use instead of Louis these days? Huh? I use really long knives. What do they call them? Machetes. They sell them in every store in Ecuador.
Everybody in Ecuador has one.
They sell them in every single, like you can go into a 7-Eleven in Ecuador. They'll sell you a machete. You kind of need them. Bo is a good person. He puts up with a lot of crap.
That's wild. I mean, it really is. Gals, I say this to the women, like make sure that you can, I know not all women.
Baseball bat, sorry. Louisville.
I know that not all women want to carry a firearm, and I understand that, but at least something.
you said something earlier that I wanted to refute, and I forgot it at the time. You said, I'm sure that these escorts probably carried a weapon. They do not, ever. And the reason is, if you are arrested for being an escort, you're going to get out that night. Unless the courts are just busy as shit, you're going to get out that night. If it's busy, you're going to get out the next morning. Have a pistol in your purse when you get arrested, and now you're going to go to prison. Like, you're legitimately going to go to prison. There are many prostitutes in the United States who will be arrested for prostitution 50 or 60 times, before they're going to do any time. So they don't carry weapons as a rule of thumb. They're afraid of it. Why machetes? Because we live in a jungle, right? So if you leave your home for 6 months, when you come back, you're going to have to hack down all kinds of vegetation to get to it. Like, things grow here in a very different way than they do in other places.
There's a lot of homes there that I didn't even know there was a house under it. Like,
I know exactly the one that I pointed out. I'm like, you see that lot? There's a house there. She's like, no, there's not.
Yeah, and we went and walked over to it. There was a full house.
It was a huge house.
Yeah.
It'll overgrow stuff like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. That's really crazy. And all of this is terrifying. And I will say I don't like being on camera everywhere we go. Like, Ecuador is great because there are no cameras anywhere. And I like that. At the same time, that's one thing I'm grateful for. There are probably a lot less serial killers that are successful at it, right? Because of that, because of our advances in DNA and cameras and right?
Yes. However, you're actually on camera a lot more in the town that we live in than you think you are. Like, every once in a while, something will make the news down here, and you'll find out that they are recording in a lot of places in Ecuador that you don't think they are. But it's not the same. Yes.
I really don't care because I'm not doing anything.
It's not intrusive. It's not like they're, it's different. What's that? Yeah. Johnny saw a car bomb go off once when he was in Guayaquil, and we saw it from 10 different camera angles, and you would have bet your life that wasn't a possibility, but there's a lot of stuff. My little foo-foo dog, Daisy, would be zero help in a threatening situation. This may come as a shock to you, but to a person breaking the law, a barking dog is a really bad thing. So very often, even if you have a foo-foo dog, when they start going, most people run.
I disagree with that about Guayaquil. Guayaquil has an Apple store. They have H&M. They have all kinds. I mean, there's cameras. Guayaquil is full of cameras. That's an actual city.
Correct. But people don't assume it's like New York, right? But there are a lot of cameras in Ecuador that people don't see, is what I'm saying.
I gotcha. Hey,
there's about 30 on this building that we live in. And I didn't know that until I was here a really long time. But there's a crap load of them on this building that we live in. Her bark is huge. Yeah, barks go a long way, honestly. Get a French Mastiff. What is the dogs your parents have?
Great Pyrenees.
Yeah, there's a Great Pyrenees that her mom has, and we took him to the vet one day. He was so kind to me. I had a great time with him. But his head probably weighs 200 pounds. You remember he had it on my lap?
Yeah, he's like a polar bear.
His head's like it's this big. I've never seen anything like it. He's a sweet dog, though. He really was.
No, he isn't. I mean, he isn't to intruders.
No, you would not want to intrude. I promise you.
No.
He would eat a couple of people if he thought they were coming.
He kills deer. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
We should leave it at deer because he's definitely a killer. But was he nice to me? I was blown away because when you were like, we're taking him to the vet, I went,
yeah,
I don't want any part of that.
Cane Corso. I had one of those, Brock. I had a Cane Corso. Do you remember the other day though, babe? They're scared of one of them's scared of rain. And I was driving home and Bo jumped into the back of my car and the other one jumped in. And I didn't even know he was in there. And he jumped into the back of my car because it was raining.
Picture of you, babe.
Really? Are you being serious?
Yeah, I love that.
Look at my hair.
I know. You look like you just got off the beach, giggity.
I had just walked. I was on a walk.
Which dog is that? That's Bo, right?
That's Bo.
Yeah,
Curly is the other one. Yeah, Curly is a murderer.
So 2 things really quick. Lego Mike says, Tucson has a ton of cameras and still no Nancy. That's because it's the Catalina foothills. Those cameras protect your front door. They can't see the road. The way the Catalina foothills, Reese can tell you. Think of the house, the house I lived in the Catalina foothills. You put a camera on the front porch, you're not seeing any car that goes anywhere near that house because usually there's a driveway that goes straight up or straight down. Even Nancy's, while it's not one of those that's on a peak or a valley, they still do it so that the front door is far enough away from the road that you don't have to deal with traffic. Around the time Nancy Guthrie was abducted, a neighbor said their dog started to bark while looking in the direction of Nancy's house. Correct. But according to him, he saw that right from the camera, if I'm not mistaken. Like it didn't wake him up kind of a thing. He saw it on a camera, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you would hope but it wasn't in her house. If the dog was barking in her house, then the perp is going, I wonder what kind of dog that is on the other side of this. And I wonder if it's going to bite me. If it's a neighbor's house, you're probably a little less threatened by it.
Right. Can I get some subscribers? Not one person has come and subscribed. That's a little bit depressing. I get it. I'm not for everyone. I understand, but
could be the breath.
Can one person, like even maybe just one? That's kind of depressing. Here's the link to my channel. Maybe 10. Trying to get some new people here.
There you go.
Thank you, Lisa S. Newport.
There are serial killers in South America. It happens. It absolutely happens.
Well, you said it's more common in other countries, right? Because they get away with it better?
The numbers tend to be a lot higher in other countries. And believe it or not, there are sick bastards that leave the United States to go do it in other countries. Also, serial offenders. They just recently convicted a guy that was either a dentist or a doctor. I think he might have been a doctor, but he had dual citizenship in the United States and in Ecuador. And he wasn't victimizing people in Ecuador. I guess he didn't want to shit where he ate, but he was going to places like Brazil. He kept a very exhaustive kind of a diary. But what he was doing was molesting very young people, and he got a life sentence or two. So they did get him. But there are people that the guys that go to to Thailand. There are people that go to other places because they're going to get away, or they believe they're going to get away with that kind of stuff easy.
I have an interesting question. What country produced the most serial killers, I wonder?
America.
Produces the most? I would say America.
America. That's terrifying. I was hoping that it was another country.
We are, I think, and people can argue with me about this, but
I'm out of here.
I think that unfortunately, especially what we're talking on right now, feeds people who aren't quite there yet. If you look at people that shoot up school,
Scott. Babe, that's terrifying. Run for your lives. I didn't know America was one of them. Thanks, Polly.
We grew up with a guy that would have ended up a serial killer. I promise you, he absolutely would have ended up a serial killer. He died at a young age, and I hate to sound like that guy, but. Thank God.
I remember you told me the story about him.
He was a really, really bad human being, and they exist. But this kind of
good Lord, we have way over 3,000. I'm out of here. I'm packing up my shit tonight.
That's the spirit. Keep going, guys. Keep going. Keep telling her. You know what else is wrong with the U.S.? Go ahead and fill that in for me.
It's mostly white guys. Boy, I'm shocked.
The serial killers primarily, like Rex Huermann is old for a serial killer. It's not unheard of, but most of the people that profile serial killers will say, if you get a serial killer, I think the oldest one they ever caught was in his 70s and had never allegedly done anything wrong prior to that.
Yeah, but it's mostly white dudes. I'm not
shocked
by that at all.
Wayne Williams jumps off the paper. He was not a white dude.
And it's probably mostly.
Yeah, Samuel Little. There have been some serial killers that were not white, and there have been some serial killers that were women, but it is a rarity. It's usually white males.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And it's probably mostly white women who are interested in this shit. Yeah, I'm getting the hell out of here.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, why? Why do creepy white dudes have to be creepy? Why?
No. By the way, there are also people that believe, because of how this stuff often gets talked about. Well, look, there's another good comment. There are people that talk about this to a point where most people believe that serial killers are all geniuses, and there's no truth to that whatsoever. There isn't.
Well, that's good news. Maybe we could outsmart them.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk for a living. I feel like I could talk my way. I could talk to one of them.
Or you could show them that.
I could talk them into releasing me. Don't you think?
No.
I think they'd be like, how do people pay you to do this?
Well, we kind of live like that here a little bit, right? However, her husband is creepy as shit. So even Laura Ingalls wasn't Little House on the Prairie.
I really would have made fun of this last guy. I would have been like, your name is Rex? No wonder you're a fucking serial killer. Your name is Rex? Whose name is Rex? Besides a dog that was a made up. Maine, where have you been? I was wondering about you yesterday, and I was like, we lost Maine, everybody. We lost Maine. There he is. Okay, he surfaced. Good
I am
Lord.
feeling better, Punisher. Thank you. Very
Speaking
kind.
of serial killers, I was going to try to see if Maine got abducted. I was like, what happened?
Or maybe he's out on a spree.
Can you imagine being a serial killer named Rex?
I can't imagine being a serial killer.
I think I would get killed quicker because I'd be all tied up and I'd be like, your name is Rex?
Yeah. Can you imagine all the creepy things that must have happened over 100 years ago? Maybe serial killers inherited their tendencies. There's not a lot there. So there are cases of a mother and a mother and son team. There was also a father and a kid but they weren't. It's not the traditional sense of the word. Yeah, there are a couple.
A mother and son?
Yeah. Now, but here's the thing. Very often, that's not an inherited characteristic. That's a mother that weans this kid. Look at the Washington, D.C. sniper, right? The John Lee Malvo or whatever his name was. Father and son. The father trained the kid to shoot people. It's not the same thing as passing it on. In fact, it was a step kid, if I'm not mistaken. So, or folio do, where two people can tend to share delusions or whatever. That happens with drugs. But as far as it being passed on genetically, I don't think there's any evidence of that ever happening.
I could see that. And Larry is probably, Jen, one of the worst. He was in the top 3. I think the worst was Chuck, Larry for sure, Dale, Daryl. Those are all murderers, like no question.
Barbara Waite, I decided
before too. I see you.
Barbara Waite, I decided once that I was going to get really into this. I think it's too far gone to believe that there's any chance that we're going to figure out the Jack the Ripper case. I kind of like the really stupid theories. For instance, that Charles Ludwig Dodson was the killer, the guy that you took the pen name Lewis Carroll and wrote the Alice in Wonderland books. There are a lot of people that literally want to put him into this, and there's just a lot of theories out there. If you look up just like insane theories that people actually believe, like Wyoming doesn't exist, I ain't shitting you. There are some tinfoil theory hats that make the people that think the world is flat almost look logical. Don't know much about this guy at all. How many victims are there with this guy that we know of? 8. However, I would argue right now that there's 9, at least 9, maybe 10. But we're going to, I think, learn more.
Do we know how often he killed them? Was it like 1 a year?
It looked to be in clusters. So I would guess that it wasn't 1 a year. But we're going to find a lot more out about this because part of his plea agreement was to allow that he would allow the FBI to come in and he would sit and talk to the FBI about himself and about the profilers are going to crawl up this guy's ass. And I think that's going to be fascinating to see afterwards.
What an effing narcissist.
Oh, they all are. They all are. I mean, you know how BTK got caught? He wanted to send, he was sending documents out. They all want to play with the press. He named himself. Like, how do you give yourself a nickname? I think you should call me BTK. They didn't come up with that. He did.
Oh my God, they are serial killers. FTG guys. I knew it. I knew it.
See, not a shocker.
That dude really probably is. I'm not kidding.
You know, as I said, not all serial killers are geniuses, but I don't think too many of them are retarded. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
That's true. I think you're absolutely spot on there. I don't think they could accomplish that and get away with it.
Not burdened by deep thought, if you know what I mean.
Not really. Yeah. Elevator doesn't go up to the top floor there at all.
So here we go. You ready?
No one's behind the wheel.
Top 10 countries by total documented serial killers. Number 1, United States of America, between 3,200 and 3,690. By far the highest with thousands of cases spanning decades. United Kingdom comes in number 2. So our cousins on the other side of the pond, there's something to be proud of. 166 to 196. Boy, we're not even in the ballpark, are we? We're at $3,000. They're at 196. Russia, 164 to 196. But some big numbers. Japan comes in at number 4, 137 to 138. So yeah, there's not anybody even close to us. India comes in at number 5. South Africa, number 6. Canada comes in at 7. Italy, I'm sorry, I refuse to believe Italy's in there. Italians are far too civilized for this. If we kill people, it's for money. Number 9, Germany. Australia, rounding out the list with 83 serial killers with a mix of urban and rural cases. I have offended Reese out of the picture. It's probably when I said that Italians made the list. Hey, speaking of criminals.
I was letting your son in.
He's such a good boy.
I let him in through the damn window. Lucy? Babe?
What is the reason for the U.S. being? I'll tell you. You want to know what I think the reason is?
Babe?
I think because once you get as civilized, look at him.
This is Tommy's son, Moose. He is a criminal. He's not retired like his father. He murders everything. And he's cross-eyed.
Protect you from rodents.
He's cross-eyed.
He's a good boy. He's only slightly cross-eyed. And he's a sharp-dressed man. Look, he wears chaps with black boots on. They're assless chaps, but he wears them with black boots. When we got him, he was white. His face was all white. He was such a good boy. They said to me, can you help us catch this cat? It's feral.
Look at his eyes.
I know. He's a little, hold on.
Do it. Do the moose.
They said he was feral, right? Feral cats traditionally don't meow, right? That's their way to communicate with us, not each other.
One more time.
One more time.
Look, they're the same.
There's some similarities. But I went up there and they were like, yeah, he's hiding behind the tractor. He's vicious. I went up and went, and that cat ran up and jumped in my lap. I'm not kidding you. Jumped in my lap, started banging his head into mine and meowing every 10 seconds. I was like, I took a picture like this, holding him, with kissing him on the face, and sent a text over and said, I don't think he's feral. Since we just traveled around the moon, looking at the picture of the Earth from the distance, boy, it sure looks flat. It do. Here's my best argument for why I don't think the Earth is flat. Like the sextant's a good one, but here's the easiest one. If the Earth is flat, think of a 50-cent piece. If you held it like this, right? But if you turn it sideways, right? It absolutely, there he is. Look at how white he was. That was day 1, by the way. That was while he was still feral, according to them. He was such a good boy.
Look how he was such a little snowball.
He really was. And then he turned completely dark after a while. One of those eclipses would just paint a line, right? We would have a line painted across the sun, right? It doesn't make and none of it actually makes sense. The fact that we have places on the planet where it's 24-hour a day light, and then the second half of the year is 24-hour a day dark, could only happen on a round planet. But whatever.
I am so thankful. Can we just, if you believe in God or pray, I am so grateful to everyone right now that we're all safe from this man, for all the women. I'm serious. I'm so grateful that he has been caught and locked up.
Yep, so am I. I think the U.S. has far more serial killers than the statistics. You said just look at the jailhouse tats. Some people have more teardrops than eyelashes, and almost all of them are bullshit. I mean, look at the fake alpha male, right? Wes Watson, who on the street got a teardrop tattoo. That guy hasn't killed anybody. Right? He's never even claimed to have killed anybody. And those are only supposed to be put if you killed someone inside. So if you see a guy that's got 6 teardrop tattoos, you'd like to do everything you could to maybe not be his cellmate, right? Because if they got those inside, it's because they killed someone behind the wall. At least from a prison standpoint, that's how it's supposed to work.
Can you do me a favor? There's my channel again. Please come subscribe. Can you show the picture of the women again? Because it makes me very sad. And I want to say I'm sad for these women and show their beautiful faces, because they're very pretty girls.
Absolutely. Sikorsky, I could never hate you. We do get the coolest cats ever.
Thank you, Sikorsky.
But they only really become cool when we start hanging out with them. I'm telling you, it's because I know how to raise a kitty. Tell the truth. Did I not have Moose whipped into shape? I mean, for a criminal, did I not have him whipped into shape quickly?
You did.
All right. This is the victims, and sadly, again, very often these people get forgotten. It's Sandra Castilla, 28; Karen Vergata, 34; Valerie Mack, 24; Jessica Taylor, 20; Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 25; Melissa Bartholomew, 24; Megan Waterman, 22, and Amber Lynn Costello, who was 27. This is kind of horrific that this went on as long as it did, but I promise you what's sad is that's a drop in the bucket. There's no chance these are the only people that he killed. He didn't start doing this. It would be very out of character for most serial killers if he began doing this late in life, right? Because this does go back almost 30 years. But even still, usually, yeah, there's more victims, Sikorsky. I promise you. And may they rest in peace. And may their families find peace. The worst part of this is the number of people that do they're hookers. Like if you happen to have gone into the sex trade because it's the only way you could feed your family or move up. I actually spent a lot of time reading about these people, and a lot of them were, one said she was just getting ready to get into a course doing this. Like they all had aspirations, they all had dreams, and they were in a society that was very difficult, especially in New York, to pay the rent. And it's sad, but the worst part is that the cops didn't research this because they said shit like, well, she just wandered off after that 911 call. She was obviously messed up on it. And then she fell in a marsh and died because she was wasted. There was nothing in her system. This wasn't a girl that was abusing drugs. It was a girl that was trying to make a living.
They were not hookers anyway. They were not hookers. You are not defined by what you do, who you are. You're not defined by that. They were beautiful women. They were absolutely beautiful women, period.
What if they were school teachers? Was their worth more then, and we should hunt them down? What if they were doctors? Then they were really worth something, right?
Right.
Every single soul has the potential to be whatever, and it's kind of tragic that that's how they were treated.
No.
But hats off, literally, to the new cops at in that department who went in there and didn't say, hey, every time it's boring, we'll go for some clicks and we'll put out what we're doing. We'll walk up and down the beach saying we're looking for more evidence. They didn't want to put stuff out until they did, and it was to an audience of one. They knew exactly what it is that they were doing. They had it going on.
So sad. They were beautiful women.
Yeah, they really were. They really, really were.
Makes no difference what you do. That's not how you're defined.
It shouldn't be.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, and look, I would love to see some lawsuits, right, from the family, especially the victims that probably could have been been handled. Main says, Tommy, we had a serial killer in my small city. He made national news and a documentary about him. He was born the same year as me, by the way. Jeffrey Mailhot. He killed 3 women in Rhode Island between 2003 and 2004. Kind of had a dim-witted look on his face, like his upper teeth always seemed to be a little bit more pronounced. Kind of had that one going, like he another one that didn't look like he was burdened by deep thought. Serial killers have no soul. Some can be sharp as tacks, and others sharp as a marble. Bright like a closet.
But they are soulless, CJ. You make a great point. I mean, it's like anything. And to me, it's the same thing as harming animals, which I realize a lot of them start out that way. You do not have, in my opinion, you are from somewhere else. To torture, to harm anything that has a heartbeat is disgusting.
Yep.
You're a horrible human being. And yes, may those poor women rest in peace. And God, that's really rough. I'm glad you showed him again, because I want those women to be more remembered than this absolute piece of shit.
Well, and that's kind of the problem, isn't it? Look at Moose back there. Such a good boy. There was and look, I don't want to hear the politics of it. If you don't like this president, keep it to yourself. But there was a plane crash that happened when I was a boy, and the plane ended up crashing, hitting a bridge and going into freezing ice cold water. And they were throwing life preservers down to save these people. And there was a clip of film, and the president at the time commented on it. And they threw this guy a life preserver, and he took it and put it around someone's head, and they got that person out. And they threw him another one. He put it around someone else. And we watched him go into the water and die. And the president at the time said, we spend a lot of time talking about people like Charles Manson. I want to tell you who this person's name is. And there are more people out there like that guy who would rather die than see somebody go under the water. There are way more of that than there are Rex fucking Huermann and scumbags like him.
Agree.
And it's I love the idea that that we take the time. It's like the case of Nick Reiner. I will call that till the end of time, the Michelle Reiner and Rob Reiner murders, because she gets forgotten.
I'm the one I said that to you. I said, everybody says Rob Reiner. What about the mother? She was butchered also.
I actually, the first time I said that, I said, my wife mentioned to me that she seems forgotten. It's messed up, but it's kind of the world that we live in. And because of how different this is, right? This isn't psychology, it's parapsychology, right? This is the psychology of people that don't fit in any kind of a normal mold, right? These people are absolute monsters and they're worth talking about, but they're not worth worshiping. And I think that very often it kind of happens that way. And because of social media, this asshole studied every other serial killer. School shooters, they don't find a school shooter and then not find afterwards that he studied Columbine or that he studied what happened in Florida. This is something that social media has the ability to feed into. On the bright side, they're less likely to rack up unbelievable amounts of victims before they get caught. In the 70s and 80s, serial killers got away with it a lot more because there just weren't all of the technology that we have. If this were 1970, nothing that this guy did would have got him caught. But geofencing, looking at these phone calls, where they were made, finding out that these burner phones were being used very close to the office where Rex Huermann worked, finding out that not only that, but on top of it, his phone was always in the same area as the burner phones. That kind of police work could have happened a lot earlier, but the cops that were in there were bad. They were Moose always steals the show. Sikorsky says, I was 19 years old when Columbine happened. The first time Columbine came up on the TV screen, I was in a casino playing blackjack, and I was at a table. It was 5 of us sitting at the table, and the 4 people that I were with were women who were dying of cancer. They were stage 4. And they had gotten out for a day pass. They weren't supposed to. They were staying in a hospice, and they went, let's get out of here and go gambling. And I got shit-faced with these women. They were all elderly. They were just beautiful people. And you know what? It's one of those things that I don't remember the horror of that day. I remembered 4 people that at one point like this took all their hats off and were bald, and I took off mine. And we just laughed for hours. And
I remember that.
Yeah, I'm sure they're no longer with us. But it was the juxtaposition between the evil on this planet and the beautiful shit that exists at the same time. And it's sad that these people get the
recognition that they do. Yeah. The validation. It's really gross. Thank you, Fisher Blue. And that's why I really like that you named those women, but I even love looking at their faces. I mean,
yeah. And I will, before I end, we're going to do that again. Buffy, I thought we had a rule about you not rubbing in how young you are. Didn't we do that rule? Is it me?
Probably. So effed up. And it really does point I really hate how much recognition these guys get because they love it. They want it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody believes that Shannon Gilbert was not one of his victims, but I think we're going to learn a lot more. I think that this is one of those situations that the longer we go, the more.
He's kidding, Buffy. He was kidding.
Not so sure, Buffy. Buffy does like to remind me how old I am on a daily basis. She gets a pass because she's Buffy. There are silent serial killers. Knew a guy who contracted HIV when he found out he slept with over 100 men and women. Yeah, there are those kind of people. Yes, I'm a little disturbed by this as well. His mom did a TED Talk. His mom also wrote a book, and I understand she's got to work through shit. But there's a lot of people that, and I don't blame the mother in the traditional. Yeah, I don't blame the mother in the traditional sense of the word, but because it's really easy to go, how does the mother not know? I mean, I was doing a lot of really effed up shit when I was younger that my family didn't know about, and it's just, I don't know that every other kid was perfect. Every other kid came out great, except not Johnny. but they did great with the other 2 kids. If it's I was never worried about the police as much as I was worried about my family. I remember the first arrest that happened after I was too old, and I was in the back of a cop car just cursing. Oh, look at him, just cursing and going nuts. And the cop was like, "What's your problem?" I'm like, "My mom's going to kill me." He's like, "Don't tell her." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Aren't you 20 or something?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Don't tell her." And it just got a lot easier after that. Sounds crazy, but it is what it is. He is a beautiful cat, and he's kind and gentle and perfect in every way.
He's a sweet boy.
He really is.
He was dumped. This cat was dumped on the side of the road, and he was a little guy.
He was a little guy. And boy, did we have fun. I played with that cat incessantly. Still have video of it.
What's
Yeah.
really special about him is Tommy and Johnny's dad's name was Moose, and we found him on Father's Day coming up 2 years now ago, and so they named him Tommy named Moose because he found him on Father's Day.
He's technically retired. He just
Is he?
He finds it offensive that rodents think it's okay to enter his home. It's not. It's kind of in
There's
his
no
nature.
rodents in the home. They're nowhere near
Not
the
anymore.
home. Tell the
Not
truth.
Well,
He goes
started
over to where the cows eat.
because he
and
knows that if he doesn't draw a very large circle of protection, that eventually they're going to get inside and poop in your shoes.
You're not going to win this.
Probably not. Speaking of which, let's since we're at the 2-hour mark, I'd like to show these women one more time. This is how I would like to end this, talking about Rex Huermann. There's going to be a lot more Rex Huermann going on, but this should give you at least an idea. We're going to have to revisit this a lot. There's no way of getting around it. You look a lot healthier since moving to Ecuador. Have you changed anything in your lifestyle, like working out? I do work out, but I did then too. I'll be honest with you. Prior to moving to Ecuador, Reese and I were struggling. I look happier because Reese is back in my life, and I'm not just saying that because she's here. I'm a much happier person with her in my life, and I think that's probably what you're seeing.
That's sweet, honey.
Fisher Blue, what a kind thing to say. I really appreciate that, and I love that you watch with your family.
Yeah, that's nice, Fisher Blue.
It's
thanks, Tom Bird.
Didn't say that for brownie points. That's good. The truth of the matter is, there's a lot of things I'd never get a shot at doing because it's the nature of the beast that unfortunately I made some mistakes and I am precluded from doing a lot of things, certain occupations and things. So this one's great. My boss has no problem with the fact that I'm a convicted felon and have a lot of felonies, and the audience seems to, for the most part, not have a problem with that either. I get to work for a boss I don't hate, and I can have my wife on when I want to see her for 2 hours before I go to bed. So it works out beautifully. It really does.
Thank you, Primitive Lifeways. Sikorsky, I don't know what you mean. Would you be down to have a panel? What does that mean?
Well, that's how we met. We met on a panel.
Right. So does Sikorsky have a channel? Is that what they mean? I don't understand.
Would you put a panel on your show?
Of who?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Sikorsky.
I don't usually stream with anyone. I've kind of made that a rule these days. I don't stream with anyone.
I don't blame you.
Except Tommy, just because of what we've been through and how much people are two-faced and stab you in the back and are not who they say they are. It's easy for people to spin a narrative and then all of a sudden you're the bad guy. So,
and now that my views are up, the number of people that have reached out and said, we'd love to have you come on and talk about true crime or whatever. And you know what? I'm not trying to sound like a dick, and I'm not trying to sound cool either, but pretty much across the board, I would go on people's channels and their views would be, if not doubled, time and a half. Like I was a very popular guest, and it benefits the hell out of them. And the first chance they get to go, yeah, I don't really like that guy. The first time anything bad happens. Now, Surviving the Survivor didn't do that. Sean Atwood didn't do that. But a lot of the other channels that I went on immediately just, wanted to destroy me if they thought it was worth a view. So these days I go with the person that I'm very comfortable streaming with.
Yeah, my views have never been lower. My channel is not doing well at all, but that doesn't matter. I'm not looking for trying to.
Yeah, I think you have a better. Go ahead.
I just meant would like to ever be down to have like open discussion on your channel with Tommy about some. Oh Lord, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Tommy and I actually probably will want to do that more often. Sikorsky, that's a great idea. I know that they died in a horrible way, but I think these women are absolutely beautiful. Yep. And until that happened to them, I bet they had beautiful lives, their mothers, their sisters, their daughters. I don't know for a fact if they're mothers or sisters, but some of them probably
are. Absolutely all of the above, Pumpkin.
I don't want to know then. That makes me even more sad. But yep. These women look at their faces. I mean, they're beautiful. They're all unique and gorgeous women. They're just beautiful women.
Last seen November 1993. Karen Vergata, last seen February 14th, 1996. Valerie Mack, last seen spring of 2000. That breaks my heart that the best they can come up with is a day, a spring. This is why these people end up victims, because very often people don't even notice, and that's heartbreaking. Jessica Taylor, last seen July 21st, 2003, Maureen Brainerd, last seen July 9th, 2007. Melissa Bartholomew, last seen July 10th, 2009. Are you noticing a lot of similar dates? I think the family probably went away in the summer. Megan Waterman, last seen June 6th, and Amberlynn Costello, last seen September 2nd, 2010. It's distressing to me that this went unsolved for as long as it did, because if they had gotten their shit together, some of those women would still be alive, and that was bad policing. So when I do shows and I shit all over Sheriff Nanos, this is why. Because if you get a cop in there that screws up the case because he doesn't want the FBI knowing what he's really about, then you end up with more victims, and you end up with these people walking, and bad things happen when criminals aren't locked up. I would be the first to tell you, if I got busted the first time I robbed a bank, there would be banks I didn't rob, right? So if they do a better job at what they do, and they should, right? I don't give passes to the criminals. I don't give a pass to myself, but they got to do a better job, and it's really awful. Exactly what has been going on with Nancy Guthrie.
Babe, say hi to Kid.
Kid. Hey, ready? Salad.
Potatoes, babe. Potatoes.
They're not potatoes anymore. Look how thin she is. Salad. No more spuds. She is absolutely too thin to keep doing the joke about potatoes. She's lost about half her weight. She's an athlete now. I don't know if you know this, but she does yoga for like the first 2 hours of the day, and then she runs. She's really gotten into pretty good shape. I'm impressed. Greens.
That's
veggies. Come on.
It's because your son eats all the food. Guys, that was a beautiful tribute. Thank you, honey, for showing them again. I think
Sam Lamb is right, by the way. Before we go, if prostitution was legal, then women wouldn't be afraid to call the police when somebody's a creep. But they're afraid if they call the police, they're going to end up arrested. And I tend to think that you're right. If prostitution was legal, they would be way more protection. Unfortunately, illegal prostitution just makes the women afraid to report when someone beats the shit out of them or treats them bad. And that gives these guys an opportunity to develop. By the way, and I'll end with this. This sicko was also really into violent pornography. And when I read about all of that, my first thought was, this kind of pornography exists? Like, he's just this. I don't know how. I mean, if that's justified under free speech, then we need to take a different look at free speech, in my opinion, right? And I know that people will say a lot of it isn't real. I don't give a shit if it's real or not. What it's doing to the people that believe it's real is the problem, and we need.
Whether it's real or not, the fact that you are attracted to that and that turns you on is a huge concern.
Agreed, 100% agreed. And
I don't care if it's a cartoon. That's really a problem.
I agree with you. That
arouses you.
Correct. Never been really a porn guy till I,
Well, you might want to finish that sentence because people are
started manufacturing my own.
Okay. Thank you for finishing the sentence. I think people were scared. People were starting to call tips hotlines and shit.
Yeah, no. It's
hey, there's my channel again. Can somebody come hit subscribe? I got 3 people. I need more than that.
Alrighty, people.
Holy muffler. Okay.
They're going hard tonight. They're going hard.
Like somebody just ran a lawnmower over Selena's. Okay, well, let's all forget what this asshole looks like and remember the ladies that we just saw.
I read it all the time, Buffy. It's one of my favorite books. So we'll leave with that. And I'm going to leave that up as we end this. Reese, thank you for spending time with me. It always makes me happy. You ready to spend more time with me?
Yes, and I love you.
All right. I'll talk to you shortly. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Prayers for these people's families and the families of the women whose cases haven't been solved yet. There were 11 bodies found out there. He has only been convicted of 8. So, or only pled guilty to 8. Let's hope that they find all of the other victims and give the families a chance at some peace. I'm Tommy. I will see you on the next one.
Night, guys.
God bless.
Thanks, subscribe.
Reese.